So welcome back, guys. So it's a new episode, the episode 8 of this amazing build that we have been putting together for a very long time now, I believe. So what we're going to build today in this episode, let's start with our prototype. So in our prototype, this is the last thing we implemented in the last episode, which is our detail screen. And now we're moving on to creating our cart screen and our dummy checkout screen with some dummy data. We're not going to integrate anything yet. So now here, then we also implement this food menu screen. So let's go and check out our app so that you see what we're going to do in this episode. So right now, when we click on a product, here we have modified our suggested product. So here now they can add product, and now we don't update our database directly. So our database is only updated when this checkout button is clicked. Oh, what happened there? So this checkout button is clicked. So now we have all the products. We can delete an entire product list. We can increase the product list as well. You see that animated update. Here we can click on checkout and it takes us to this our dummy checkout page, and you can see we can pay with card or we can pay with PayPal, which we have not implemented. So in the next episode, maybe the episode 9, if the time permits, we can now move on to integrating Stripe or other payment methods that we can find the SDK for, and also PayPal. Okay, who knows? Yeah, so if we go back to our checkout screen. Here we can go to our product categories. Here see our card for all the categories that we have. So if we click, we can see items in that category. Then we can also view the details, and we can also either make them favorite or not. So it's full on, guys. So now if we go back to our product details screen, we can actually check out a single product, which is this, and it takes us to checkout. So like this, then we can go back, then we can also view our category from there as well. It's fully packed episode. So go grab a drink and brace up, because we're going down the rabbit hole. There's a lot to cover here. So let's go to our IDE and start developing this feature. So in this new episode, the episode 8, we have also improved our prototype. So as you can see, if you remember where we left off initially, we had a check mark box here that we used to add just one single of the suggested product, one single product. So it was hard coded to just add one product directly to the database once it's checked. But that was just for demonstration when we did that. So in this episode, I've improved that so that I give the user the opportunity to add as many of these suggested products as they wish to, and once they have added the product, the sum is also updated immediately. Then once they click on the checkout, that takes them to our checkout screen here. As you can see, our checkout screen here, we have a list of all the added products in their cart and the quantities. So they can increase the quantities, delete the item entirely, or reduce the quantity as they wish. Then this summary card here gives them the opportunity to add a promo code for discount. Then give them the subtotal, the delivery fee, which we have pegged at £4. Then the VAT, as in the UK, is £20. So 20%, so with that, all summed up gives us the total amount. And once they click on checkout, it brings them to this screen where they can use their card to pay, or you pay with PayPal. So we have just hard coded some dummy data to demonstrate that. So we might be able to implement Stripe and PayPal later in the episode if time permits. Once they click, we implemented this browse for more that we have on these two screens so that they can see more products. So once they click on that, it brings them to our food menu, and in this our food menu, it shows all the categories that we have. And once they click on that card, it takes them, it shows them the list of products that are already added in that category that we have in stock. So that's the implementation. And also we went further to wire these screens, because as you can see, we have browse for more in the details screen. So when we click this is supposed to bring us to this nested bottom nav that we have in our home screen. So there was some implementation there to make sure that the right screen is located, and also on back press so that we can also locate the latest screen, and so that our app doesn't crash because of some of the previous implementations that we've done before. So now, to start with, when we go back to our Android Studio, in our Android Studio, we know we added this quantity stepper here in the product details screen as a private composable. So we are going to copy this, because now we have need of this quantity stepper. As you can see, we have need of it in the details screen, we have need of it in the suggested product dialog, and we also have need of it here. So we want to make it a widget, kind of a component, a general component, so that we can access it anywhere in our that we have need of it. So what we'll do here now is to cut this quantity stepper out from here. We cut this out like this. So we go to our component here and we create another composable here that we'll call quantity stepper, like that. So it's going to be a file, then we paste our quantity stepper just like that. Then with this is no longer a private function, so that it will be accessible every other place that we have need of it, which is this in our product details screen for now. And now it will require us to import that function, which we have just done, and everything seems to be fine for now. Unused import derivative, let's optimize that. Yes, so everything looks clean. So now that we have done that, we can now move forward to other steps. Okay, to move further from that, after isolating our quantity stepper, the next thing we need to do is, now that we're going to be using that quantity stepper, for instance, we're now going to be using that in our suggested dialog here. So what we need to do now is to actually create a new function, because you remember that in this implementation, initially, once we click this, we just call our add to cart function, which adds this item directly to the cart. And once you uncheck that, we call the remove from cart, and it removes that particular item from cart as well. But now we're only going to be collecting the quantities of the items that were added here. So with that, our new implementation is going to have some new functions to actually read our cart flow and update the quantity, either added or removed. Then the next thing we are going to do now, create function for, is that, remember that this is our batch count flow here. We're just reading the batch count flow, which is just reading the entire quantity of items in our cart, not the specific item and the details they have. So because of that, we are going to create new functions to actually read the cart flow. So now we're going to add some new function here. The first one is going to be our read cart flow, like this, and that's not going to take any parameter, but it's going to return a request function, a request state, and we're going to now pass a list of our cart items like this. Okay, it's going to return a flow of type request state. So we can add a new bracket here, and that's undo that. I deleted that. So now we have another function, suspend function, that is going to be our delete from cart item, like this, and it's going to take the product ID parameter, so that we identify the product we are deleting, and this is going to be a string type. Then here is going to return our request state of type units, like this. So then finally we're going to add another suspend function, which is set cart item or set cart quantity, like this, and that's going to take a product ID parameter of type string and new quantity of type int. Then we return a request state of type unit, like this. Okay, So that's the three functions that we need. We first of all will read our cart flow to see what's in our cart. Then we can also delete a cart item completely with the quantities, then also set the quantity like this. So now that we've done that, we move on to implement these functions. So let's proceed to our customer repo implementation and flesh out these three functions that we've just added. So here I'm going to implement all members, click OK. So down here we start with implementing our read cart flow implementation. So in our read cart flow, we start by creating a val that will call UID to get our current user, get current user ID. Then we say we conduct the check and say if UID is equal to null, that means it's an invalid user. We now call try send here. We need to assign this to a callback flow. And in case you're wondering, this is more safer because it automatically handles cancellation in case the user decides to check out and just like abandon the process. Maybe they've just selected something and abandoned it without adding it, because as you remember, once we change this quantity is not added to our cart immediately, and one is only added when they click on the checkout button. So that process kind of, if we use channel flow here, it doesn't like clean this properly, if I must say. So callback flow will actually clean up the process, because we're going to call await close at the end of the process, so that they think we will now close down, and that resource will be released back. Then if UID is equal to null, then we can now access try send, and in this try send we call our request state dot error, and we pass user is not available or user not available. Okay, so now we are going to call close, and then we call our return at callback flow like this. So then once that process is not null, then we have a valid user. So then we can now say try send, and here we are going to call our request state dot loading. That means we're expecting something to be returned. Then let's create a listener for that. So we say listener is equal to our Firebase Firestore collection. So we pass our customer collection, which we'll access first to get the customer details, document, and here we pass our UID as the unique identifier, then collection again. So we have accessed the customer database, and we've accessed the right customer. Then we're going to go to their cart subs collection, because this is where we're going to add the new item or read what is in the item from, so to say. Then we now call add snapshot listener. So we can call this snapshot, then error like this. So we say if error is not null, that means there is an issue. So we say we call our try send again, and then we call our request state dot error, and we pass the error. We pass error dot message. Just keep picking the wrong thing. What's happening? Error dot message like this, or we return fail to read cards. Then we return our snapshot listener again to retry again like that. So but if there is no error, then we create a val, which is the document val, and we'll assign that to our snapshot. So that means something was returned from our documents dot or empty. So at least we're able to find something even though it might be empty. Then we create another variable that we call cart, and we'll assign that to docs dot map not null, then document snapshot. Then we create a variable that we'll call our product ID, and we'll assign that to our document snapshot dot get string, then pass our product ID to get the product ID, or we return the document snapshots.id like that. Then we create another variable which is going to be our quantity, the actual quantity of this item as selected by the user. Then we pass that. So here we need to get a long, because the quantity is an int, but we need to cast that to a long. So we say document snapshot dot get long, then we pass the quantity parameter, then here, or we return 0L, then reassign that to int like this. Okay, so now what we'll do is I will say if quantity is less than or equal to 0, that means we can't have a minus quantity, can we? No. So then else, if we have a 0 quantity, we'll return null. Else, that means it's above 0, which is there's an item which is like 1. Then we call our cart, then we pass our product ID and assign that to the product ID we've just created, and also the quantity, and we pass that to quantity as well, like this. Okay, so now we call our try send again, and we call our request state dot success, and everything went through. Then we now pass our cart like this. Don't forget to call our wait close, and we assign the listener dot remove whatever is hanging. So that's how we read our cart flow now. So that is done. So the next thing is to delete item from cart as well. We need to implement that. So here we're going to return try, and we assign that to get current user ID, or we return request state dot error. So we call our user not available. So we'll say if product ID dot is blank, then we return, because you can't delete a product you don't have. Okay, we return our request state dot error, and we pass invalid product ID. Yeah. So now what we're going to do is we now query our database once more again. If every other thing checks out, that means there is no error, we have some items. Okay, so now we create a variable, or we just query our database directly and say firebase.firestore.collection, and we'll pass our customer collection as usual, then .document, and our document is still our UID, .collection.cart subcollection like this, .document, then we pass our product ID, then also .delete, because that's a delete function, then we call our wait like this. So then finally we call our request state dot success, that means we have successfully deleted that item, then we just pass unit like this. Then let's add our catch e dot exception, and now we call our request state dot error, and we pass fail to delete cart item, and let's not forget to call e dot message like that. Okay, so that's that function done as well. So the last but not the least for now is the set quantity. So in our set cart quantity, I mean to say, we're also going to return try. So let's add our catch request state.error failed to update cart quantity. Then we pass our e.message like this. Okay, so now we're going to say check for our valid user as well is equal to get current user ID, or we return request state.error and we pass user not available. Okay, so now we also check if product.id dot is blank, no product was returned, so we return request state dot error and we pass invalid product ID as well. So now after that means everything checks out, we don't have any issues. We can now say query our database, but let's create a quantity, a cart quantity first, and we'll assign that to our new quantity dot coerce in, and let's pass 0 to 99 because that's our lowest and upper bound limits. Then we create another variable here that we call cart.doc. That's to call our cart document is equal to firebase.firestore.collection, which is firstly our customer collection, and do that. Then .document, and we pass our UID, then .collection again, we pass our cart subcollection, then .document, then we pass our product ID, then we now say check and say if cart quantity is equal to 0, that means nothing is in our cart, then cat document.delete because there's nothing in that document. So once the user taps the quantity stepper until it gets to 0, that means with that item should be removed because nothing is remaining. Okay, so we don't want shells. So now we call our cat, but else that means there's still the quantity is more than 0, so maybe 1 or thereabout. Then we call our cat dog.set. So we set the new quantity that was added. So let's map that off and say we pass our product ID for that particular product, then product ID, then also quantity. We set that to cat quantity. Then we have updated that so that we can also know when this particular item was added or removed. To field value dot server timestamp set options dot merge dot await dot requested dot success, like this. Okay, so that's all fine. Now we have implemented our 3 functions, and now I use the import derivative. Okay, let's optimize that. Yeah, so we are fine now. So we have implemented those 3 functions. So the next thing we need to do now is to move on to our ViewModel and also use those functions. Okay, so before we continue to our ViewModel, let's refactor our card, our cat product card, and refactor that so that you will now have this delete button and the stepper for the cart, and also the stepper only for the suggested dialog. So in order to do that, we go to our Android Studio now. So in our Android Studio, I think I missed one error here. Where are you? So this is supposed to be item, and everything is fine now. So we can actually close some of these down so that we can have a clear interface. Let's close some of these now. So we go to our components where we have not the home component, the general component, which is this one, where we have our cat product card. So now we're going to introduce, we want to make this dynamic so that, as you can see from the prototype, here we have a bottom displaced stepper to the right, and here we have both the stepper and the delete but icon. So we are going to make it dynamic. So what we will need to do now is to let's add a trailing content to what we have here already, to the parameters we have here already. So we're going to call trailing content, and that will be, we cast that at composable like this, and it's going to be a row scope because we need a row for those 2 elements, whichever one we need at any particular point in time. And this is going to return a unit like this, and this could be null, so that means we don't need it at that point in time. So that's it. So now that we have a trailing content, every other thing still remains the same. So what we need to do now is to come down to here, I guess. Yeah, outside of the row. Yes, that's the right place. So here we say if trailing content is not null, then we should return, first of all, add a spacer here. So use our famous modifier and set that to modifier dot width, and let's set that to 6.dp. Then after that, let's add a row. So in that row, we won't add the body yet, so we'll add the body whenever we call this trailing content. So in the body, we will have a parameter of modifier dot fill max width dot padding. Let's set the padding to the end and set that to 4.dp. So after that, we can set this to vertically align. So alignment as bottom. Okay, so then we can have a horizontal arrangement and want this to be arranged to the end, so that where we have just the stepper, it will still be arranged to the end. If it is both, then there should be space between. So this is trailing content. Okay, so that's it. So that's the modification we need for here. If we need anything later, we can actually come back to that. So now now we go to our quantity stepper, and in our quantity stepper, we're going to add some new parameters to set the upper and the lower bounds. Okay, so we can add the minimum and we set that to an int and assign that to 0. We can call this minimum value as more descriptive, max value, and that is also an int, and we set that to 99. So we can also add a modifier here, right? Okay, so now here we set some new parameters to show the increase and decrement for this counter. So we create a val that here we'll call the counter decrement. Let's just leave it like this, and we set that quantity is greater than minimum, and also we set for the increment, so we'll call this counter increment, and we set that quantity less than max. So that means once we call this variable, it's decreasing max value. I forgot I changed that, max value and minimum value, like that. Okay, so now what we need to do here, we can actually just call our modifier here so that that error will disappear, and just remove that entirely. We'll see about that later. Okay, so now we have set this variable here. So what we need to do here is, in here where we call our stepper, we go to our stepper button, we should add another parameter here that we can call enabled so that once the number has been reduced to 0, it can't go further, like to run into minus. So we set that to a boolean. So we go to our line test field here, we can add enabled, and we pass enabled like this. So with that, we can now add that here. So we call enabled, we set this is the reduction, so we set it to the counter decrement, and here as well we call enabled again, and we set that to our counter increment like this. So with that, our quantity stepper is also now updated. So now we can go to our add card dialog and update that as well, so that we know that the UI is set up. Then we can now update properly in our view model. So where is our dialog? Add more to carts. So here we're going to change a couple of things. Suggested product, we don't need these added IDs anymore because we're not adding that directly. Then our total price is still valid. Then on dismiss is still valid. On product click is still valid, which we will still implement later down the line. So on add checked, we will no longer use that because we're removing that checkbox. Okay, so what we do here is on increment, and that is going to be a string and return a unit. So on decrement, that will be a string and we'll return a unit like this. Okay, so now with those, we can also add the go to cart parameter here, go to cart. Once we click the checkout button, it's supposed to take the user to the cart. So we're going to implement all that in this episode moving forward. So now that we've done that, we have not implemented the functions in our view model yet. So what I will do here for now is to remove some of these. Let's remove the checkbox entirely. So we have that item in our cart product card now. So what we do here is we now call the trailing content, and in that trailing content we can now call our quantity stepper. Then in our quantity stepper we pass our quantity and we set that to, we have not created, let's create another var here. Let's call this quantity and we set that to selected quantities, which we have not created yet. So what we do now is selected quantity, we have that up here. No, we did not add the selected quantity. So let's add the parameter here that we'll call selected quantity. The changes in quantity. So quantities, and we assign that to map. That will return a map of strings and an int as well. Okay. Selected quantity. Selected quantity is like this, and we pass our product.id, or we return 0 like that. So here we pass quantity like this. Then the next one is minimum value, which is going to be 0, and also on minus click we set that to our on decrement, and we pass our product.id as well. Then on plus click we pass on increment, and we pass our product.id like this. Okay, so now anywhere we call our quantity stepper, we should be able to see this new quantity. Anywhere we call our product card, which is like in this alert dialog. Let's run this and see if we'll be able to see that UI changes that we have just made. Okay, we need to change this on our product screen as well. I missed that. Okay, we're still using the checkbox here. So what we need to do here is to start with updating the parameters in our product screen. So here we're going to remove this. We're no longer using this. We're going to remove unchecked, unchecked, unchecked like this. So let's implement the remaining parameters. Okay, so now the suggested quantity or the selected quantity is going to be our UI state dot. This is suggested product, but that's not what we're looking for actually. So I think before we can preview this, let's go to our ViewModel and implement the update our function. So moving on to our product details ViewModel, what we need to do now is to let's add a new function here, 2 new functions actually, to decrement or increment the suggested product, because you know that initially we were just adding them directly to our database. So now we want to hold them in a map so that we can just collect the quantity and hold it until the user clicks checkout. Once they click checkout, then that is finally added to our database. Okay, so first of all, we create a function that we'll call increment suggested. Increment suggested is going to take a parameter that we'll call product ID of type string, and we are going to, in the body, we'll say we call our base UI state dot update to update the new quantity. So here we call this state, and down here we create a variable that we'll call a current, and we assign that to state dot suggested quantities. Have we created that parameter yet? No, so we have not created that parameter. So what we will need to do here, we need to add that to our UI state. So down here we can say val suggested quantities to collect the state, and this is going to be a map of string and int, and we can assign that to an empty map like this. Okay, so now down here we can actually call that. So down, where are you? Suggested quantities. Then we can now pass our product ID like this, or return 0 like that. So here we can now say state dot copy, and here we say suggested quantities, then we'll assign that to state dot suggested quantity. Suggested quantity is plus. We cast our product ID to the current plus 1. So that's for the increment. Okay, so then we still call our dot coercing. That should be in here. So dot coercing, then we pass 99. So that's the highest range at most. Coerce at most like this. So the maximum value is going to be 99. So we create a similar function for the decrement suggested, and this is also going to take the product ID parameter of type string. Then we call our base UI state again dot update. Then we can also still call this state. Then we create a variable that we call current again equals to state dot suggested quantities. Then we pass our product ID again, or we return 0 as well. Then here create another variable that we'll call next, and we'll set that to current. Just what we do, we're just extracting this to call it next. That's what we did before. So coes at least, and we pass 0, which is our minimum value. So now we create a new variable that we'll call updated map. Just different ways of doing the same thing really. So we say if next is equal to 0, then state dot suggested quantities minus product ID, else we can say state dot suggested quantities plus product ID to next. Then we say state dot copy suggested quantities assigned to updated map, just like that. So just to show you the two ways of doing exactly the same thing, so there's not too different between these codes. It's just that this one is more verbose, why I guess this is more lean. The next thing we need to do now is to confirm the suggested selection to cart. So that is like adding all the suggested selection. So we cannot use this function here, the add to cart, so we can actually create a new function. So these two are no longer relevant. So let me see if I can salvage this for now. We call this confirm suggested to cart, suggested selection to cart. Okay, so now this is going to have just one parameter and it's going to just be undone. So now I think I should cut all this thing out so I don't waste a lot of time trying to update this. So we say var state is equal to our base UI state dot value. Okay, so we say var selected is equal to state dot suggested quantities dot filter values. Then we pass it greater than 0. So for we to confirm the suggested, the value must be greater than 0. If not, we just proceed with the initial total, which is from the product that we are navigating from. Okay, so if we set another condition to check if the selected is empty as well, if selected dot is empty, then we call our state dot updates. Is that okay? We call our base UI state dot update, and here we say it dot copy. We copy the snapshot. So we say suggested quantities we assigned out to an empty map for now. Then show suggested dialog, we set that to false because we have navigated out of here, and our action message will be null because there is nothing to actually show them. They will find themselves in the cart screen. So here we can call undone and also return. Okay, so now if we actually have something, let's create a variable here. So our undone, let's cut this out, it's supposed to be okay. So here we can create another variable that we'll call product, and we start to suggested product dot value as request state dot success on level, and we can say that data dot or empty like this. So we can also create another variable by id. We set that to product it.id. We call our ViewModel scope launch, and we call our base UI state date it.copy and set that to null as well. Then here we say var errors in case there is any error is equal to mutable list of it.id. This should be of type string. So here we create another variable that we call errors in case there is any error, and say call our mutable list of type string like this. Okay, so now we call say selected dot for each to get each of the selected products that the number has increased, to add them to our cart, and leave out those that the number has not increased. So this is going to be our product ID and quantity. So we collect the product ID from each of those products and the quantity that have been added. Then we say var. So let's call this product, create another product. So this can be the whole entire product is equal to product by ID. Then we pass our product ID like this. Okay, so now when we have collected that particular variable for that part, for each single product is null, so that means the product is not added. Then we can now call errors dot add. So we can say could not resolve suggested product. And here we pass our product ID. So if we cannot get the ID of that product, then we return an error. So we return for each. But if not, that means there is a result. So we create a variable and say result is equal to customer repository dot add to cart. So we can now call our add to cart here and pass our product ID to product dot ID. So the error is that I forgot to update this. I made this product. So if we update this, then we'll be able to find our ID. So the next one is our product title. So we call our product dot title. Then finally our quantity to add, we call our quantity like this. Okay, so now we are good to go. We have a result. So but let's add another check here to say if result is request state dot error, then we call errors. That means the result couldn't be added. Error dot add, we say failed to add. Then we call the products, we show them the product that that we're not able to add, and we also show them the result why that happened dot message. Okay, so like that. So now let's add another check to check if the errors are not empty. If errors dot is not empty, then we should update our error message as well. So base UI state dot update it dot copy. Then we send the action message. We say errors dot join to string. Then we pass that in a new line. Then our suggested dialog should remain, so that we'll give them the opportunity to select a new product instead of closing it once there is an error. So we call return. We call return launch here. Okay, so that the page will be refreshed for them to perform the action again and potentially select a product. So if not, then we update everything for the user .it .copy. So here our suggested quantities will be an empty map. Then we clear the suggested quantities that we'll be holding in our map, because we are now moving to the checkout screen. So we don't have a still suggested dialog. Okay, so and finally we can now call undone again. Okay, so that's the confirm suggested selection cards done. So every other thing still okay, is still okay. So we will go back to our product details screen to update all that. So here now we can now call our UI state dot suggested quantities. Then the increment is going to be our ViewModel then suggested, is that what I called it? Increment suggested, right? So here we'll do the same thing, ViewModel, decrement suggested, like that. So our go to cart, we have not implemented that yet, so we can just add an empty lambda. On checkout, we can just add empty lambda as well and delete all that. So I guess we are good to test this out now and see if the changes worked. Okay, seems like our app is launching. That moment of truth where we see if what we did worked or not. So here we go. Suggested. Okay, why is this overshooting like this? I think I added the stepper in the wrong place. Oh my bad. Okay, in the product card, let's see. Oh, this is supposed to be inside this column. Cut this out. This is supposed to be inside. It's supposed to have our async image. So it's supposed to be inside this column because it's part of that column. So it should be here. Yes, I think so. So let's relaunch our app again and see if we have something better. Okay, that's better now, as you can see. So you see this is disabled. Once it's 0, it's disabled. So that works very perfectly. And when we go to checkout, we have not implemented that yet at least, but our UI is as it should, though the quantity stepper seems to be a little bit too large for my liking, so we can actually downsize that a little bit. So why don't we make this 16 and see how that turns out. Yeah. Oh, that's not so good. So what I will do here is just leave it at 24 as it was before. Let's leave it at 24. It's not too bad, but if you have a different opinion, let me know in the comment section, okay? So let's proceed. So the next thing we are going to look into now is to design our card screen so that we can wire this properly, so that we can actually navigate from this checkout to our card screen, okay? That's the next thing we'll do now. So in order to access all the elements of our cart, if you have a look at our prototype, we're going to be able to increase or decrease the number of items also from our cart, and also kind of delete the entire cart if we choose to, in the entire product quantity and everything in one click using this delete icon. So now for we to collect all this data, we need to be able to access our database by our card screen. So we're going to develop that from the database to the UI. Okay, so let's create our cart repository that we'll be able to use to access our Firebase database accordingly, still maintaining our clean architecture as we have been doing from the beginning. So right now, I think I can confidently close all these tabs here. Then this is our domain, and here we can create another interface that we will call our cart repository like this. Okay, so in our cart repository now, we are going to have some functions. First of all, we need a function to observe our cart items, because currently we already have stuff in our carts. So we say observe cart items, or even if we don't, so that when we add items to our cart, then we can also read the flow. So this will return a flow of type request state, import flow of type request state of list of cart items. So here we're going to create some cart item UI that will be able to read the item, because if you look at our prototype here, we actually have this UI. So we need to read the state of this UI for each of those items and still display them in our cart. So for we to do that, let's create a cart item UI. So this cat item UI, because now we have a product, we have the product names which we are going to call from our product repository later. So we have a product name, we have the price, we have all these details, but we also have the quantity stepper function that we want to implement. So because of that, what we need to do now is to go to our models and we create another data class here that we'll call cat item UI like this. So in this data, we're going to have two parameters, which is our product of type product. Then we have our quantity of type int. Okay. So that's just it for now. So now we come to our repository, we call that data class. So just like that. So now below that, we're going to create another suspend function for our increment of the cat item. And this is going to take a parameter of product ID of string type and also product title, which is also a string. Then this could be nullable in case the item doesn't have a title, which is also unlikely, but let's put that check there in case. There's always in case, okay, of type unit. All right, we can close this down for better space. So now we can also copy the same and we call this decrement, and this is only going to take the product ID because we're doing a one-shot event action, which is just to delete. We are not returning anything from that. So then we create the array function to delete this item. So this will have the product ID of type string as well, and it's going to return the request state of unit type, nothing fancy. So the next function here is to set the quantity of the item. So we create call this set quantity. And to set the quantity, product ID of string type, then the quantity, which is going to be an int, and we'll still return our request state of type unit. Okay, so that's it. So these are the 5 basic functions that we'll need for our cat repository in order to query our existing cat already. Okay, so now that we've created our cat repository, let's do what we always do. Again, go to our repo implementation and also create another class to implement the functions that we've just created now. So we're going to call that cat repository or cat repo implementation. I like to call it like this. So here in our cat repo implementation, we're going to have a private var, which is our customer repository like this, and also another private var, which is our product repository like this. Okay, so this is going to inherit from the cat repository like this. Okay, so now it's going to force us to implement all the members, which we're going to do humbly because the cat repository is the master. Okay, so now we have these override functions to flesh out. So we start with saying return customer repository dot read cat flow. So dot flat map latest. We can call this our cat state. Right, then here we need to opt in for that material 3 experimental coroutine API. So let's make this a top because it still requires that maybe down the line. So let's just put that here. Okay, so here now we use a when statement and we say when cat state is true, then it can either be that is our request state dot idle, which will collect a flow of our request state dot idle like this, or is our request state loading, and this will also collect a flow of our request state dot loading, right? Or is request state error is going to also collect a flow of our request state dot error, and we now pass our cat state dot message so that we can give them the appropriate message so that as a clue of what actually went down. So then our success, we say let's create a variable to collect our cart list. That's the list of items in the cart, and we assign that to our cart state dot data. Then we say if our cart list dot is empty. So if our cart list is empty, we can now say flow of request state dot success. Then we pass an empty list. Else, that means our cart is not empty, we have some items. Then we say we have to observe for each cart item, we have to observe the product details flow as well. So now let's create a variable that we call flows, and it will return a list of flow of per carts. Then our request state of type product. So we can now assign this to our cart list dot map. So we map all the items in the list, and we can call this carts, and we say our products repository, because that's where we're getting the product details from. Read product by ID. So for each individual product, we're reading the ID. So here we pass our carts dot product ID dot map, and now we call our product state to carts to product state. Okay, so now let's combine the flows down here. We call combine flows. Okay, this should be inside the else statement. So let's call this pass our flows, and we can call these pairs. So here we create a variable that we call items equal to pairs dot map not null, like this. Then we pass our cart and our product state. So we say when product state is true, then we say is request state dot success, not any type. Then we call our cart item UI product, and product state dot data. Then quantity, we assign that to our cart dot quantity. Else we return null. Okay, then here we call our request state dot success, and we pass our items and map it as request state of type of list type of our cart item UI, like this. So then don't forget to call our onStart, and that's going to emit. I think we need to, let's import that. So here we can emit our request state dot loading again. Then finally we can call dot catch, and here is e, and we pass call emit again, and our request state dot error. Then we pass our e dot message, or we give them a little message to say failed to build cart items. Okay, so that's the function to observe our cart items. That was quite heavy, but it's worth it. So let's flesh out all these other functions as well. So our increment is going to be, we just create a val that we call the title, and we set that to our product title, or we return an empty string if there's no product title. Then we return our customer repository dot add to cart, and we pass our product ID, pass our title, then also pass our quantity to add, and we assign that to 1 each time. Okay, so now we also do similar thing for the decrement, but here we just call our return, and we call our customer repository dot remove from cart, and we pass our product ID and our quantity to remove. So we can only remove one item at each point, at each click actually. So the third one is, the fourth one is the delete. So we call our return and say customer repository dot delete cart item, like this. Then we pass the product ID for the item that we wish to delete. Then setting the quantity, then we call return again and say customer repository dot set quantity, set cart quantity. Then we pass the product ID for that item, and also the quantity that have been selected. So these are all the functions. Let's optimize this, and the other error is about calling this cart repository. Okay, so now what we do next is, let's not forget our DI. So in our repository, let's add single. So here we call our cart repository here, then our cart repo implementation like this, and that we have some parameters in that which shares two, so we just call get here. So we need one more, so we'll call get again. All right, so that's it for our repository implementation, and everything looks good on this end. So now that we have created our customer repository, we have created our cart repo implementation, the next bit is now to create our cart view model. Okay, so let's go to that. If you want to go and grab a drink, go and grab a drink and come back. So let's continue. We can start by cleaning up our UI a little bit, delete, close all this. We'll close all this down. Then you remember that our cart is a nested screen in our home graph. So here, let's create add another package here, a new package here that we'll call cart like this. And in that cart, we're going to add a class which is going to be our view model. So we call that the cart view model like this. All right. So now in the cart view model, we are going to have, firstly, we're going to have a UI state, but we're going to, first of all, let's add the parameters, and that is our private val, which is our cart repository like this, and this will inherit from our view model class. We couldn't have closed our module, then we can actually add this to our module and copy that and paste that here. So this is going to be our cart view model like this, and we only are getting our one repository parameter, so that's done, so we won't have issues. So before we proceed, let's add a data class here to collect our UI state. So we call our cart UI state, and in our cart UI state, we're going to have a variable which is our cart item or cart items, so to say, which is going to be our request state, our request state of type of list of cart items or cart items UI, cart item UI that we've created earlier. So now we can assign this to our request state dot loading. Okay, so then we can also have our variable for our promo code, even though we have not implemented that yet, but we'll still do that. So we can assign this to an empty string for now, then create another variable that we'll call our delivery fee. So that's going to be a double, and we can initialize that to 4.0. So then val, we have our VAT percent like this, and it's also going to be a double, and it's going to be 0.20, which is the VAT in the UK. So now let's now create our private val for our UI state. So our private UI state, and we assign that to mutable StateFlow, and we pass our cart UI state like this. Then now we have our public UI state, so we call that val UI state, and we set that to StateFlow, and we pass our cart UI state like this, and assign that to the private UI state we've just created above. So this needs to be capitalized. So after that, let's create a function to read to assign the value for this promo code in case they change. So on promo code changed, we have a parameter that that we'll call value, and that value is of type string. And here we say our private UI state dot update to update the promo code, and we call it.copy. Then here we pass promo code and assign that to our value, whatever value that have been passed. So then after that, we create another function for increasing the quantity, the item. So is going to take a parameter which is the cat item, and this is will be of type cat item UI, and we assign that to our ViewModel scope.launch and do that. So now we call our cat repository dot increment like this. Then we pass our product ID and assign that to cat item dot product dot ID. Then also our product title, we assign that to cat item dot product dot title like this. Okay, so we do the same for our decrement. Yeah, our decrement is also going to take the product ID parameter of type string. Then we assign that to our ViewModel scope.launch, and down here we call our cat repository dot decrement, and we now pass our product ID because we just need the product ID to reduce. Okay, so then the next one is the delete function to delete an entire item from our card. So here we say product ID type string, and we'll assign that to our ViewModel scope.launch. Again, call customer repository cat repository dot delete. Then we pass our product ID. Okay, so then the last function we need here is to get the subtotal. So right now we're finished with the functions here. We're now moving to this subtotal delivery feed and VAT to apply them. Okay, so now we have the subtotal is going to take items parameter of list type of cat item UI like this. Then that's going to return a double. Then let's assign that to our items dot sum of it dot product dot price dot it dot quantity, because that's what will determine the price, the sum total, which is the subtotal, which is the sum of all the item price times the quantity that has been added will give us the subtotal. Okay, so that's a simple function there. So then let's create for the VAT, and the VAT will take the subtotal, which is going to be a double, because for we to get the VAT we need the subtotal. That will tell us the percentage, because we already know the percentage, which is 20%. So we assign this to subtotal times our UI state dot value dot VAT percent. So the subtotal, which has been calculated, the entire subtotal times the VAT percent, will now give us the VAT amount. Okay, let's call this VAT amount for clarity's sake. So now the next thing is our total, which is the total amount, and that is going to also take the subtotal, which is also a double, and we return a double. So let's assign that to our subtotal plus the VAT plus the delivery fee, first of all, dot value dot delivery fee, then plus the VAT amount, which we take the subtotal as well. So these are the functions that we need in our UI in order to pull those data and make it reactive, so that once any changes are performed, we can see that immediately in our UI. Okay, so the next thing now is to design or flesh out our cat screen so that we will be able to call and use all these functions. Alright, so let's add our cat screen as well. So let's create a composable file that we'll call cat screen like this. Copy that. So we call our composable form. Let's paste what we've just copied. So our cat screen is going to have two parameters, which is, because if we look at our prototype quickly, we have the checkout screen, which leads us to the checkout screen, and we also have browse for more, which leads us to the categories. So let's add those parameters now. So here we say navigate to checkout. It's going to be return a double, because we're going to be passing the total amount to that checkout screen. Okay, so then we have navigate to menu, and that's return an empty unit. Okay, so in the body of our cart, we're going to call our view model var view model, and we call our coin view model, and it's going to be our cart view model like this. Okay, so now let's also call our UI state by ViewModel.UI state.collect our state. So let's set the get value, and that's fine. So now we'll call our UI. We will not have a top up bar in this UI because it's a child screen of the home screen. So we just say UI state.display result, UI state.cart items.display result like this. So this is going to have some parameters. So we use our famous modifier, say modifier dot padding. We set the padding to 12.dp, then dot fill max size to fill the parent size. Okay, so then we call unloading, and we assign unloading to our loading card, and we use modifier to say modifier dot fill max size like this. Then we also have an error, and in our error, let's call this message like this, and we say we use our info card here. We call our info card. So our image is going to be our resources dot icon dot dog like this. Then the title we say then the subtitle we now pass the message. So after that we have on success like this. We can call this the cart items, and here let's create a variable that is going to be our subtotal, and we'll assign that to ViewModel dot subtotal. Then we pass our cart items, the subtotal of all the items in the cart. And let's create another variable to get our total is equal to ViewModel.total amount. Then we pass our subtotal, so I've created here. Right, let's use a column to add this section here. So in our column, let's style our column a little bit. Let's say modifier dot fill max size. Okay, so inside the column we use a lazy column, and that lazy column we need to add some styling as well. So here we use our famous modifier dot fill max size or max width. Then we set the weight to 1f, and do that 1f like this. Let's set the vertical arrangement to arrangement.spaceby. Let's set that to 12.dp. Then we now call items here. So our count is going to be the cart items, and the key is going to be it.product. Okay, so we can call this item, and we now call our cart product card. Here we pass product. We'll assign that to our item.product, and we have on click. Let's leave that as an empty lambda for now. Then our trailing content, we can now use a row, because there we have both quantity stepper and the delete icon. So let's use row to style that. So this row, let's style this row a little bit and say modifier is equal to modifier dot fill max width, then also to fill max height. Okay, so let's set the horizontal arrangement to space between, and also the vertical alignment to alignment dot center vertically like this. So now in the body, we're going to add our quantity stepper, which is going to have the quantity parameter, and we'll assign that to our item dot quantity. Then as well, our minimum value is going to be 1. Then on plus click is going to be our view model dot increment. then we pass our item.product.id. On minus click, we have our ViewModel.decrement. Sorry, I think yeah, this is supposed to take just item for the increment, and this is the ViewModel.decrement and we'll pass our item.id, item.product.id, like this. Okay, so that's it for our quantity stepper. Then after that, we should have our icon button, and on click we should call our ViewModel.delete. Okay, so then we pass our item.product.id. Okay, so that's it. Then here we now call our icon, and it's going to be penta resource, now resources.icon.delete. Okay, then content description is going to be delete icon. Alright, so then we call our theme and set that to our icon primary. Alright, so that's it for now for those first elements. And as we move further down, we have created this part up here, so we need to create this summary card and also this primary button, disabled primary button here. Okay, so we grade this out to take away attention, because the main action we want them to take on the card screen is to check out. That's when we know that the transaction has been completed. But if we confuse them by making this bold or enabled like this, is going to be distracting attention from this main button, which is the checkout button. Okay, so that's the intention there. All right, so now we need to create that card separately. So what we need to do now is to create a private composable here. So here we'll have a parameter promo code, and it's going to be of type string. Then we have on promo code change, collect the change in state. Once they added something, this is going to be a string type unit here. Then we have on apply promo, when they click the apply button, and there's going to be an empty lambda. Then subtotal, which is also going to be a double. Then we have delivery fee, and it's going to be a double as well. Then we have VAT percent, it's also going to be a double, and total amount again, and it's also going to be a double. Then we have on checkout, and that's going to be an empty unit for now. Okay, so now in the body we will start with our card. So our card here, let's style our card a little bit again. So we have a modifier, and the modifier dot fill max width, and we have a shape. We set it to a rounded corner shape, and that's going to be like 12.dp. and also we set our colors is card default dot card colors, and this we're going to pass our surface dark from here, surface dark here. All right, so now we have added our styling for our card. We use a row first of all we're going to use a row to place this outline text field and this button here, but in this prototype is inserted button here. Okay, so we use a row here, and we add a little bit of styling to our row. We use our famous modifier dot fill max width, and we can set the vertical alignment to alignment the center vertically like that. So here the body will add our outline text field first, and in our outline text field the value is going to be our promo code. Then the on value change will be on promo code changed. Then our placeholder is going to read, we're going to use a test, and the test is going to say enter promo code. So, and then we have a font family which says which is our essential variable font, and font size is going to be our font size the regular. Okay, so that's the placeholder right there. So after the placeholder, we have a modifier which is a modifier dot width, because we want that to take the maximum remaining width. Okay, so then I want the text to be a single line so that the field doesn't grow. Then our shape is going to be our rounded corner shape, and we pass that to 50.dp because we want it well rounded. Then let's pass some colors here. So colors, we have our outlined text fields default dot colors. Okay, so this color is going to be our unfocused border color, is going to be our border idle. Then focused border color is going to be our brand yellow. Then our unfocused container color should be the surface. Okay, so that's it for now. So after that, so outside the outline text field here, let's add a spacer here, a width. So we use our famous modifier dot width, so we can set that to like 12.dp, and let's import width spacer, I mean. So then after the spacer, now we are now going to include that apply button. So to include our apply button, we use our aligned button, and on click we set our on click to on apply promo. Then the shape is going to be our rounded corner shape, and we set that to like 50.dp because we want everything to be well rounded. Then we also add some border, so the border, we set the border to border stroke, and we pass the width to be 1 dp and the color to be brown, I guess, yeah, brown. Then we use our modifier and set the modifier the height, want a fixed height of 42.dp. okay, so now in the body we can now include the text that says apply, and as well we can set the font weight to be font weight dot bold. Then also we can set the color to be text primary, right? So let's copy this spacer again and modify that. Copy this spacer and put it down here. I need to cut that out. So this spacer should be outside of that row. We have finished with that row now, so we can put that here. So the next thing we need to implement now is our summary row. If we look at our prototype again, so we have these rows here, a bunch of rows that we have down here. So we're going to create a single composable file that we'll call in our card in order to display these rows. So let's do that now. So all we need to do is to create a private composable here. So this row is going to take some parameters. One is the label, and the label is going to be a string, and the other is the value, and is also going to be a string. Then the next one is the bold, because some of the label is bold like the price, so we set that to boolean, and we can initialize that to false. Okay, so then in the body we're going to use a row, and that row is going to take on some parameter as well. So we use our famous modifier, assign this to modifier dot fill max width. Yes, so then we set the horizontal alignment arrangement to be space between, like that. So then in the body we're going to have two text elements. So here the text is going to say the label, then the font size is going to be font size dot regular, then the color is going to be our text primary color. Then as well we have a font weight. So in this font weight, we are going to decide which of the labels are bold, because if you look at our prototype, here the label is bold while these other ones are not, and here all these are bold. Okay, so but we want this to be bold, so in order to reuse that that component, we set a condition here and say if bold, that means bold is true, then we should call our font weight dot bold, else it should be our font weight dot normal, like this. Okay, so then we can copy this and paste this here. So this is going to be the value, and our font size is irregular text primary. So the same condition applies here. So if bold, then font weight bold. If not, so that's it for our summary row. So now what we'll do is, now after our spacer, we can actually call our summary row here and set our label. The first label is our subtotal, and our value here is going to be, we have to map that to two significant figures. So we have modulo.2f.format, and then we call our subtotal like this. Okay, so that will give us our subtotal for this value. All right, so we can actually cut this or copy this and paste it like 2 times. So this is going to be our delivery fee. So, and this is going to be delivery fee. Then here is going to be total amount, or VAT. That's VAT percent, like this. So this is going to be VAT percent. This is going to be VAT percent times 100.2 int. Then we should also include our percentage sign, like this. Okay, so now we have implemented this. So we need to add this horizontal divider here then, before we now call our summary row again. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll call a horizontal divider, and we set our modifier, equal to modifier. We set the padding with our modifier. We set that vertical padding to 10.dp. Okay, then we have our color. We set that to border idle. So now we can also paste our summary again. So our summary here is going to be total amount. So here is going to be total amount, like this. Okay, so then we can now add bold and set that to true, like this, because we want everything about the total to be true, to be bold, I mean to say. So now let's add another vertical height again. Let's add another vertical height after that, or vertical spacer, and let's set that to 12.dp. So now we need to add our button after this. So our button is going to be button. We set our on click, we set that to on checkout, because that's where we want to go once this button is clicked. So use modifier, set our modifier dot view max width. Then let's set a fixed height again of 52.dp. Then we can also set our shape to be our rounded corner shape, and we set that to 12.dp. Then let's also set our colors and set our button default dot button colors, and let's pass our brown. Okay, so now in the body of this button we're going to add our text. So, and our text is going to be text. We assign that to, we set that to checkout, like this. Then the font weight, we set that to font weight dot bold. Then also let's add a font size, and the font size dot regular. Then also let's set a color and set the text color to text white, like this. So with that, we can say that our cast screen is actually now possible to reach. So we now go back to our cast screen, and in our cast screen, after the quantity stepper, we have added our icon button. So let's add, outside of this lazy column, which is here, so inside our main column, which is down here, I guess here. Okay, yeah. So inside our main column, we're going to now add another vertical spacer, which we're going to set our modifier to 12.dp. Then after that, we can now call our cart summary card like this. So here now, we can now set our promo code to UI state.promo code. Then we can set on promo code change to ViewModel on promo code changed. Then we also have an apply promo. Then we can leave that as an empty lambda for now. Then the subtotal is going to be our subtotal. And then delivery fee is going to be UI state.delivery fee. Then we have our VAT, which is also UI state.VAT %. Then total or total amount is going to be our total here. Then we now say on checkout is going to be our navigate to checkout like this. Then we pass the total as the data. So then after that, after the cart summary, the next thing is our button to view more. So we say modifier dot height. Let's set that to 12.dp as well. Then after that, let's call our primary button here. And in our primary button, we want to set the text, and the text will say browse for more, right? Then we have icon and our painter resources, we call resources dot icon dot book. Okay, then we have enabled, which is true. Then on click, we have navigate to menu like this. Okay, so that's with that we can confidently say we have finished our cart screen to display. All we need now is to create the navigation to actually see this our cart screen. Let's go to our home screen and add our cart screen composable. So here in our home screen, we go to our nested nav graph in the home screen. So here we have our cart. So now we can now call our cart screen here, and our cart screen is going to have the navigate to checkout, then navigate to checkout, which we have not created. So let's take this out and also navigate to menu. What am I doing here? Okay, so now we can now add these two parameters here, which is navigate to checkout, and then navigate to checkout is going to take a double because it's going to have the total amount of the selected product like this. Then navigate to menu is going to be an empty unit because we're not passing any data there. So now we can now come down here, where are you, show yourself, and call our navigate to checkout and also navigate to menu like this. So with that, we have set our screen up in our UI, but our nav graph, our parent nav graph, is going to demand for the new parameters that we've just added. So you have to fix that as well. So like I said, you see here is, so here is going to be navigate to checkout, then navigate to, here we can pass an empty lambda for now, then navigate to menu, we can pass an empty lambda like that. I think we'll be able to run our app now and see our screen. Let's see, or if we run into any issues. I think our device is having an issue. Okay, let's assume it's back. Oh, okay, our app is launching now. Alright, okay, moment of truth. So our app is actually stuck on loading. So why could that be? This has nothing to do with it. So there is an issue in our cart ViewModel, if I'm not mistaken, because not our cart ViewModel, our cart screen actually. So in our cart screen, our application is stuck in the loading card, which is spinning endlessly. There is an issue. Let's check our database and see if we have anything in the cart at all. So we have some items here. So maybe you cannot read the item because of the created art. Okay. So what we will need to do is to let's delete all the items in our cart. So we have deleted all the items in our cart. So we don't have, our cart is empty right now. So let's go back to our home screen and come back here. So now our cart is empty. Okay. So, but it seems we have not wired this yet, the navigation here, and this counter doesn't add up here, which is another issue, and we can't navigate. So let's sort that out, then see if that will make any difference. So, but now that this adds to the cart directly. So now we have one item in the cart, but still yet our cart screen is not displayed. It's stuck on loading. Alright, I'll troubleshoot this, then find out what's happening here, then come back. So I've actually found out why this is not working, because our screen cannot actually read the current state of our cart, because we need to call our ViewModel scope here. So we use an init block and call our ViewModel scope dot launch, and here we call our cart repository dot observe cart items. That is why we are not yet observing that state of our cart. So that is why it's stuck endlessly on the loading. Then undo that. So here we call our UI state dot update to get the current state, it dot copy. Then we pass our cart items and assign that to the state that we've just created above. So if we relaunch our app again, it will be able to display some of our cart items, hopefully. Alright, moment of truth. So now our app is crashing. So why is that? We have another issue on our hands. So let's check what's happening down here. So now we have an issue. It says attempt to invoke interface method immutable get value on a no object reference. So this is actually referring to our cart view model, line 60. Okay, so we say we're calling a null object reference. So I know why this issue is happening. Why we're having this issue is that I called this init block before the state was exposed initially. So as you can see, this was what I did initially. I called the init block up here, and Jetpack Compose and calling is top down. So the states haven't been exposed while we are initializing, so it's not going to get any visible data at that point in time. So that's why we're having that issue that is stuck in loading permanently, or when we click, the app will just close down. Okay, so if we delete that and call the init block after the state have been exposed, I guess we'll be able to see something at this point. So let's check that out. Our app still crashes again. Okay, so let's go back to our log cart and see what's happening this time, but I believe the initial issue have been solved. So now it's entirely new thing. So it's number format exception right now. So that means we have formatted our output wrongly somewhere. Okay, so in the cart screen here, so yeah, so this here we are displaying the VAT amount and we've done the calculation, so we don't need this formatting here, which is why we are having that issue, the second issue now. So if you did this with me, just take that out and let's relaunch our app. Okay, so now we have a data here, but we are having some issues here. This is not looking good at all. So what we need to do here, I think I know why. This button was supposed to be outside this cart. If you look at our prototype, this is what we want to show. This is how we want this to display. So this card is on its own, while this button is on its own. But now I think I added this and it made this to squash together, because I think we have set a kind of a fixed height for the card. Okay, so let's go to our card summary. Here's our card summary. Okay, this button is where it should be. Then, so this is supposed to be VAT percent. Why is it not called? So now this primary button is actually outside. So I think the issue is with our summary card. Do we need to add some padding? This card has a column. Did we add a column? No, so that's why this is squashed. So what we need to do now is let's close this or close this. I want to get everything within the row. So now this is our row. So what we need to do is to add all this in its own column. So cut this out. So let's add a column here, and in that column we'll paste every other thing we had initially. So let's add a modifier. Send out to modifier to introduce a padding, and we'll set that padding to a general padding of 12.dp and see what that does to our layout. Okay, you see that looks a whole lot better now. All right, so but this is still a bit squashed together. So so the spacer between this and the row is supposed to be height, not width. This regular expression here, we need to add a curly braces like this. Okay, so because it's showing the text, it's showing this as a text, not the actual value. So let's launch that and see if that makes any difference. Okay, so that looks a lot better, and our VAT percent is actually showing as it should. Okay, so the next thing is now the divider. Divider is kind of hidden. We can't really see much of it right now. So what we'll do is to change this border idle to color.black. We need to import color.black and set our copy and set it to 0.8 alpha. Okay, so let's check that out and make sure everything looks as we want it to look. Then so what I want to do now is to add more product to our carts and see how that shows. Close that down, go back. We have not implemented that navigation to cart. That's the next thing we'll do now, but let's check this out. Close that down. So let's go back. Now we have 3 items. So as you can see, it's showing as we expect it to show. So now we can increase the quantity. You see that? So once we increase the quantity, does this reflect on the amount? Yes, it reflects on the amount. So the increment is working from here. So what we can check again is to check if the delete is working. Yeah, the delete is also working as well. So now we can say that this screen looks as we expect it, and our divider is now more obvious. So then this height, okay, so everything looks as it should, if I'm not mistaken, but we can tweak things as we go. So the next thing we can do now is to try to make sure that once we add an item here, this increment is reflected here, and also once we click here, we can actually access that card screen. Okay, so let's tidy that up now. Okay, so to implement that, let's go to our details screen. So in our details screen, we need to add another navigation. So navigate to checkout, and that's going to take a double parameter as usual, so that we can pass the amount like this. Okay, so down here on checkout, we can now call our ViewModel dot confirm suggested selection to cart. Then we can now call on done, then assign that to our navigate to checkout like this. Okay, so with that, we can now navigate and add the additions that we have. So there is a confusion here. We have on checkout and we have go to cart. Let's go to our add more to cart dialog and see. So this our go to cart. Let's remove it because it's not called anywhere, I guess. So we're using on checkout, and once we on the confirm button is on checkout, we're calling. So that's fine now. That's better. So we can now remove this guy entirely. So now what we do now is navgraph our screens. In our screens, we need another data class here. Let's copy this, and down here this is going to be our cart screen, and here this is going to take amount, and this is going to be a double like this. So that's it. So then once we go to our nav graph, then in our nav graph, our details is going to demand for the new added navigate to checkout. So with that, I think we'll be able to navigate now to our checkout screen from the details screen. So now the moment of truth, it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so let's do something here. So let's say we call this amount, and here we say nav controller dot navigate screens dot cat screen, then we pass amount and assign that to amount here up here and see what it does with that. So as we can see here, our navigation is not working. If we check out, it's not taking us to the cat screen. But before we move on with that, we also need to improve this because it's not adding up to our checkout. So let's go to our add more to cart dialog. So in our checkout, we have, where do we have that checkout? So we have this total price here. So this total price is it's a double here. Okay. So this total price, let's see how we implemented that in our details screen. So we did not implement that. Okay, we implemented that. So this is the added cart total here. So this is the total price. So that means in our view model, maybe we missed something out in our view model. So is we called UI state dot added cart total. Let's go there. So it's 0.0. So where else did we use this? So that seems to be fine. We'll keep checking until we track the issue. So in our add to cart, we reassign that to, so we are reassign that to our initial total here, which is the product times price. Okay, so now everything seems to be fine here. So what we need to check is how the quantity stepper is wired to add up to this total here, because every other thing looks fine as it should. So let's go to our quantity stepper. Where is our component? Okay, this is the quantity stepper. So on plus click is this, is okay. So let's check on grand total here. This is the total price, which is supposed to be the total amount. So the total price is this. So we need to get the sum of the total. So what we need to do here is, let's create a variable here to get the sum of the total. So let's create a variable which is product, and we'll assign that to our suggested product as requested.success. So this could be nullable.data to get the success data for the request state. So this is to read the state. So here we'll create another variable here that we'll call total. So this total is to collect the total of the suggested product. So we call our products dot sum of, call this product. So we say selected quantities products dot id to get the id of the selected quantity, or we return 0, then times product dot price, like this. So now this is how we get the total to add up to this our check button. So we now say val grand total is equal to total price. So let's rename this so that it will be more descriptive. So we rename this to initial item total so that we will know that this is the item that was selected. So initial item total, I think that's more descriptive name, like this. So now our grand total, which is the initial plus the total of the suggested, is going to be our initial item total plus the total we have just calculated above. Okay, so in our checkout, we are now going to, under confirm, we will change this to our grand total. So like this, I believe we'll be able to get the total amount as we increase the quantity step or decrease it. So now we have 22.9. So if we increase that, you see it's adding up. If we decrease that, it's minusing. So that is sorted now. So we can increase that. Then now the next thing we will tackle is to navigate to our card screen, which we are not able to do now. And why we are not able to do that yet is because you remember that here we're in the navigation controlling this product overview to detail screen is the parent navigation, which is our burger nav graph here. So this is the main navigation of this our application. So but now the card screen is now the part of the bottom navigation, which is a nested navigation in the home graph. If you are still following up from the beginning, I know it's been a long time, but this is a nested navigation. This bottom navigation here is a nested navigation in the home graph. So now if we're calling this nested navigation, we cannot access it directly from the main graph because it's nested, so it's hidden. So now what we need to do is to set up a function to read the state of the nested navigation from the home graph so that we can reach it from the main navigation, if that makes sense. So but you see that in action now. So what we will do here is to go to our home screen and set up an initial start destination for the first compose screen that we have, so that we can access that from our home screen. We can access the navigation from the parent navigation to our home screen. So to do that, we will create a variable here. Let's create it under this selected for this nested navigation. Let's say a val start destination. Start destination is equal to, remember, so here we're going to pass a home tab, the start tab. So let's add a new parameter here that we'll call start tab. So here we call our home. So first of all, what we need to do is we go to our burger nav graph here. Let's add a constant val here that we will call our home. Let's go tab key. So it will be like our home tab key that we can use to access the home navigation. So here we call it a home tab key. Okay, so now this home tab key, let's create a private function in order to reach that home tab key so that we can now call it in our home screen. So here we call a home function nav controller dot set home tab like this. So this will take a tab parameter that we will call home tab like this. So for this home tab, we're going to go to our screen and add an enum class for the four home tab screens that we have here. So what we'll do is we go to our screens. We create a Reusable, then enum class that we'll call our home tab like this. So that home tab, now we take the products parameter, which is our product overview screen, then carts, then notifications, then our category screen, which is our menu screen, like this. Okay, so now we'll go back to our nav graph. So here in our nav graph, we now say try. So we create a var here that we'll call home entry. So that's the entry point of the home graph or the home tab, so to say. So we say get back stack entry so that we'll be able to navigate successfully back from that home graph once we find ourselves there. So now then we say home entry dot save state handle like this. So we pass our home tab key and we'll assign that to tab. Then we'll catch any error. So we say exception, or we just call illegal argument exception here like this. Okay, so we can just close that with empty lambda like this. So we can actually add a text there or a toast there to say. So now what we need to do now is, now that we've created our home tab key, we can now go back to our home screen and now complete that setup. So here we create that parameter, the start tab, and it's going to be our home tab, and we'll assign that to home tab and do that. Home tab dot product, which is our entry point, our product overview screen. Okay, so now that we've created that, we can now set up that start destination. So here we call our start tab like this. Then in the body we say when start tab is equal to home tab dot product, we should navigate to our screens dot product overview screen like this. Then home tab dot cart, we should call our screens dot cart screen. Then home tab dot notifications be our screens dot notifications. Then home tab categories will be home tab categories. Then we have our screens dot categories like this. Remove this. So with that, we can now set our start destination. So now what we need to do is here, down here in our NavHost here, we initially call screen dot product overview screen. So now we set this to our start destination like this. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can now go to our details. We can now go to our details screen here in the nav graph, which is this one. So our navigate to cart now is going to be our nav controller dot set home tab. Then we'll pass our home tab dot categories like this. Then our nav controller dot pop back stack like this. So let's check that and see if we've wired that correctly to navigate to our cart screen. Our app is still not finding this screen, so I think we've missed out something again. There's no error, it's silently crashing. Okay, so what did we miss again? So now what else we missed is that in our home graph initially here, we have not been able to listen for the incoming tab switch request that we have just implemented. So let's do that and see if that helps us get to where we want to go. So let's call this entry here. Then here we create a val to get, we'll call args, and we set that to our entry dot route dot to route. So here we'll pass our home graph like this. So now to listen to the switches, we create another variable. We call that requested tab flow, and we set that to our entry dot save state handle dot get StateFlow. Then here we pass our home tab key and the args dot start. So to get this start, which is giving us error here, we'll go back to our screens. So in our screens, our home screen, our home graph here is a data object. So we'll change that to a data class to pass a parameter. So here we change that to a data class. So our home graph is now going to be take a parameter, and the parameter here val is our start. So that start is going to be our home tab. Our home tab, we'll assign that to home tab dot products, which is one of the parameter up here. So this will now be our start. So if we go back to our nav graph here now, so in our nav graph here now, we create another variable here that we'll call val request state tab by request state tab flow dot collect our state like this. So now in our home graph, let's import the setters and the get value. Okay, so now in our home graph, we call our start tab and we'll assign that to our request state tab that we've just created above. So with that, hopefully, and run this once more again and see if we can navigate to the cart here. The app is crashing now. Now we have a real issue. So in our navigate to home, let's call the home graph now because it's now an object. The function, the object home graph. So let's try again and see if this works. Okay, so that is solved now. So now let's try to navigate again. Wow, this is serious. Okay, so we have to troubleshoot this and find out what the problem is. So I've been able to find out why our navigation is still not finding anything in the nav graph. Okay, so what we missed out is a very crucial function here, which is actually we have set up our navigation and our nav graph. So now when the state changes, we can actually read that state. That is why when we try to navigate, you see it searches, there's that brief pause there, it searches for the destination, but it can't find it because it can't read the state, the current state. So it now goes back to our product overview screen, which is our start destination. So let's correct that. We use a launched effect. So here we pass our start tab again, then in the body we create a var that we call our destination. So we set that to when start tab. So just exactly what we did up here. So we can copy this and paste that here, right? So once we paste that here, so then outside here we can now call our nav controller dot navigate. So to tell it where it's going to navigate, let it navigate to all the available destinations for the right one. Okay, so then here we should also launch single top so that we can also navigate back when we click the back button as well. So then and also restore state, we set that to true as well. Then we pop to our save state and we assign that to true as well. Then here we add our screens dot product overview screen. This is screens product overview screen, which is our start destination. So if we relaunch our app now, I guess we'll be able to find out the correct destination. Okay, that moment of truth. So right now we check, go there again, add to cart, check out. Whoa, so it's navigating, but it's taking us to category screen. That means I've called category in the destination wrongly. So where is, but nav graph? Yeah, here. So this is cart, my bad. So now we relaunch our app and see if we can navigate to our cart screen. So add to cart. Okay, so we're in our cart now. So but one thing we need to check is to see if the amount is increased. So we have 117 here, 0.05. Let's go back and select another product, maybe this one, and add to cart. So we have 2.99 plus 117. Let's see. Okay, 120 points. So it's adding up, and even here we can also increase. You see that? So we can also delete the entire item. You see that? We can also delete, we can reduce the amount, that reduction to 1. Okay, so it's working. So we can increase and reduce at the same time, and when we click the back button, it takes us to the product overview screen. Okay, so that's where our home. All right, so now we have implemented that successfully. What next is there to do? We need to implement, let's implement our, okay, we can implement this now because we don't have our checkout screen yet. So what we need to do, let's implement our checkout. Once we implement our checkout, so that we can navigate from here to the checkout and also navigate from that product overview screen as well. Then we do this lastly, the browse for more, which will take us to this category here. Okay, all right, welcome back. So let's look at our checkout screen. So in our checkout screen here, this is going to be part of the main navigation from here because we don't have any bottom navigation that leads to the checkout. So what we need is a top up bar showing the total amount here, then these select cards that we have here to choose either to pay with card, debit card, or to pay with PayPal. But we are not going to implement any of these in this episode, so we're going to just use dummy items to fill this up. Then on the next episode, if time permits, we will implement that, or you can do that as an assignment for yourself in case we don't get to finish up everything. All right, so now let's go back to create this screen. then wire the navigation accordingly. Okay, so here now what we need to do, I think we can close all these tabs so that we can have some room here. So but first of all, before we proceed, let's commit some of these. So we'll leave this out, leave this out, leave this out. So this is our navigation wiring, like this. Commit anyways. So this and this is add more to cart and product details screen update. Okay, so now we can add our cart and cart view model, cart screen and cart view model, like this. Okay, so we're all caught up now. So let's close some of this down for sanity's sake. Okay, so now we have our features. So our checkout screen is going to be our checkout screen. Let's create another package in our feature package. Let's call it payment. So here we'll implement those two payments, but now let's just create a checkout screen, which is going to be a composable file that we'll call checkout, like this. Okay, so at composable from checkout. Okay, now from our checkout we have our back nav and we have checkout. So and we have the total amount. This is the title, so that means we're going to use a scaffold here. Okay, so now we need to create that navigation, navigate to back, and this is going to be an empty unit, like this. Then also total amount, which we are going to pass from any of the screen, either the cart screen or the details overview screen, details screen. Yeah, so now let's create a scaffold here. So our details screen has a scaffold, so let's go and copy that. No, details screen, yeah, down here. All right, so down here we have a scaffold, so we can copy this up to here, copy that and paste that here, and let's close this down. Okay, so here we need to, there's a surface. This is going to say checkout, like this, and this is going to be, let's call this navigate back. Okay, so our quantity step are null. So what we're going to pass in our actions is a test. So let's add a test here. So the test is going to be our pound sign, the dollar sign, and here we have .2f. We need the modulo. So then we say dot format, and here we'll pass our total amount, like this. Okay, so here we have our total amount. We need to opt in for that experimental material 3 API, and that's it. So now we need to add some other styling to us. So our font family is going to be our Oswald variable font. Then we have the font size dot medium. Then we have font weight dot bold. Then we have the color, make it our brown, because we're talking about money again. We need to make it stand out. So let's use our modifier, say modifier dot padding. Let's set a general padding of 12 to the end so that it doesn't get squashed in the end of the wall, 12.dp. So that's the styling of our test for now. Then down here we're going to use a column to set up all the items that we have here. Okay, so we'll create this card and create this card and this card, this card and card. So the card for the credit card, then address card as well. So what we need to do now is to use a column to layer all that out, even though we've not created those composables yet, but we'll do that in a minute. So now we use our modifier to style our column. So our padding is going to be the padding values up there. Then we add, say to fill the max size of the parent dot padding. Let's add internal padding of 12.dp. Then we can can set the vertical arrangement. We can set that to center to be spaced by arrangement dot space by. Need to import arrangement. Okay, dot space by. So this is going to be spaced by 12.dp. Okay, so now after that, let's create all these individual composable. First of all, we start with those cards, the selection card for the payment method. So let's create a composable. It's going to be a private function that we call payment method toggle, something like that. Okay, so payment method toggle is going to have two parameters, which is selected and unselect. So here we say selected, which is going to be our payment method. So for the payment method, let's create an enum class here. Optimize import, close this down for more space. So up here we'll create an enum. So we'll create an enum class that we'll call payment method, and this enum is going to have two items, which is the card and the PayPal, which is our primary payment method. So down here we call our payment method. On select we pass our payment method lambda like this. So in the body here, we're going to use a row because we have two of those selections. Let's style our row a little bit. So here we use a modifier and set our modifier dot fill max size or max width. Okay, then we set our horizontal arrangement and we set arrangement to center. Then our vertical alignment, we set our alignment to center vertically. So in that row, we are going to create another composable, private composable, that we call our toggle peel, so that to create that button. So here we create at composable private function, we call this toggle peel, and here this toggle peel is going to have a text which is of string type, and selected, which is a boolean, not our payment method, is either selected or not. Then we have on click, because there will be an action when clicked, so that will be an empty lambda for now, and also leading icon, which is going to be an int. Okay, so down here we say we create some variable for our background, because as you can see here, once it's selected it should be brown, if not it should be like disabled here. Okay, so now we say var background and say if selected, because if selected is true, it should be brown, else it should be surface light, I guess. Yeah, so or then we now say for the foreground, we set if selected is true, it should be text white, that's the text in there, text white, text primary. Okay, so then after that, let's use a button and we set on click, we set that to our on click, then let's use a modifier to set a fixed height equal to modifier dot height. Let's set that to 44.dp. Then let's add a shape to be our rounded corner shape, and we set that to our background. No, we set that to 12.dp, not color. We're not talking about color here. So then our colors is going to be our button colors, button default dot button colors. Then we set that to the background variable that we've created above. Then here we set our border, and we set the border stroke of 1 dp and the brown for when not selected. So now we set our icon. So now let's set the text first before we add the icon. Okay, so we set the text, and our text is going to read text, and the font weight is going to be font weight dot bold. Then the color is going to be our foreground color, like that. So let's add a horizontal spacer here, modifier equal to modifier dot width, and let's set that to 8.dp for now. Then after that, let's call our icon, and we use our painter resource to set our painter resource source, we set that to the leading icon. So then after that, let's add our content description to be null, because this is going to be selected dynamically. So tint, let's set that to color.unspecified. I think I imported the wrong color there. This is the right one, .unspecified. So let me remove that import, initial import. Let's optimize this and let's cut that. I don't like putting the library down here, so let's take this out. So let's import the right color, which is this. So that's fine now. So now this is our toggle peel. We can now call that in here in our row. So in our row here, we now call the toggle peel and we pass our test. The first one is going to be card, and the selected, it should be selected equal to payment method dot card. It should be card that is selected all the time, because we're just showing this for now. Then on click, we should set on select and we pass our payment method dot card. Okay, so then our leading icon is going to be our resources dot icon dot card. Do we have the card icon? No. Okay, I think I've downloaded that before. So what we need to do is go to our finder. Yeah, I think I have card here. Let's copy this and go to our drawables and paste that here. Okay, all right. Okay, so now we can go to our resources icon. So let's just copy one of these, copy this, paste it here and call this card, and this is going to be MasterCard, like this. Okay, so now if you go to our card, our checkout, we have the card as the leading icon for this first one. So now after that, let's add another horizontal spacer here, modifier we set that to modifier dot width. Let's set that to a.dp again. So now we can just copy this and paste that here, and this is going to be PayPal, and this is going to, do we have the PayPal icon? Undo that. This is going to be PayPal, I mean this is PayPal and this is PayPal. No PayPal. Let me check image. Okay, PayPal logo is here. All right, so but we need to, let's use the modifier to add the size of this icon dot size, and let's set this to 14.dp, and we'll see how that will work later. So now we have added our payment toggle. Let's create the next thing. The next is this card here. So let's create that card, which is our payment card form as well. Then we can just call it everything out together in the same place. Okay, all right, so the next one is another private composable that is going to be private form. We call that card payment form, and that's going to be, is going to be save card function there to give them option to save their card for future payment. And also we have on toggle so that we can replace the right form once we selected a different payment method. On toggle save, on toggle save, because we have that switch button there that we're going to use to implement the save card. Okay, so that's the function. On toggle save is going to be either toggled or not boolean. So here it's going to be an empty lambda. All right, so in the body here, first of all, we have the card number and the outline text field. We have the card name on the card, we have the expiry date, then we have the CVV. Okay, let's start with the name or the card number. So we use a test here, and our test is going to read card, let's make it all caps, card number. So then we have the font size, which is going to be our font size dot regular. Then we have the color, because you can see it was a bit faint there, so that it doesn't stand out. So here we use alpha, and we set our alpha to half, like this for the color. So now let's add another vertical spacer here. So let's copy this spacer and modify it, move faster. So this is going to be height and this is going to be 12, or let's say 4. Okay, so we can now add an outline text field here. Outlined text field. So in our outline text field we have a value, so we're going to hard code this value as 1 2 3 4 space 5 6 7 8 space 9 0 1 2 then 3 4 5 6, like that. Okay, so then here on value change, let's make that an empty lambda for now because we're not implementing it fully. Modifier, we set our modifier dot view max width, then also we set our shape to our rounded corner shape and we set this to 12.dp. Then we have this, we want to make the card number single line, we set that to true. Then also trailing icon, we want to add a trailing icon here, calling the class trailing icon. Yeah, so the trailing icon here, we're going to add an icon. So have I used icon before? Yeah, let's copy this guy. So here this is going to be our resources dot icon dot card, that master card. Okay, so here is now unspecified, the size is let's make this 124. Okay, so now we have this item now. So the next item we have there is this name on card, then this. So it's just similar to this, just that there's no trailing icon here. So we have the test. All right, so we can actually copy this guy up here, copy this guy, paste it here, and also add some vertical spacing up here. So this is going to be like 12 to give it ample space. So here is going to be name on card, like this. Okay, so every other thing is still the same, but here the text is going to say my name, which is Stephen Namani, like this. Okay, there's no error with my name, it's not English, sorry. Okay, so now we don't need a trailing icon, so we can just cut that out, and that will be it for our second layer. So for our third layer, which is the expiry date, which is going to have this down arrow to select the date as usual, and also these two text fields here. So what we need to do, we need to let's create like a drop down stop here. Okay, so let's add the test, the usual test. Okay, so we can copy this guy. Come on, what's going on here? Okay, so we can copy this guy and paste it down here. All right, so let's now create another private composable that we'll call that drop down stop. So it's composable private function drop down stop. Okay, so this is going to have a parameter which is the value to collect the value, and the value is going to be a string, and also the modifier to set this to modifier like this. So in the body we're going to have an outline text field, and here the value is going to be the value of value change, nothing for now. Then shape is going to be our rounded corner shape of 12.dp to match the other ones. And now we have the modifier. We can use the modifier to set the width. So this width is going to be modifier dot width. Let's set to 120.dp and hope that will work. Then in our prototype we actually set that to 88. So but I did it 120. We'll see how 120 will be like, then we can improve later. So here we have our single line, we set that to true. Then colors, let's send some outline text field default dot colors, and let's set our focus border color to our brand yellow. Okay, so that's it for now. Okay, we might need, let's add the trailing icon, which is that drop down arrow down button. So I've used icon recently. All right, copy this and paste it here. So this is going to be drop down. Do we have any drop down? No. So I think I've downloaded that before as well. Drop down. Okay, we should have drop down as a vector asset. Let's go to PNG image asset. So let's go to clip art. Yeah, arrow drop down, this one. Next, finish, and come down here. Let's call this drop down. Man, what's the name? Does it mean it did not add up? I'll do that again. So we have our resources, then we go back here, we check for drop down. Yeah, we have that. Okay, so now we have that, and we'll set our color to yellow. So now what we can do here is we come up here and set this, okay, name on card. This is not going to be name on card anymore. This is going to be expiry date, like this. So after that, we add our spacer again, copy this, paste it here, and make it 4. Okay, so now we call our drop down stop, but we need a row. So in that row we have our horizontal arrangement. We set our arrangement to be spaced by arrangement. We space that by 12.dp. okay, so here we call our drop down stop, and now we pass our value to be 0.1. then our modifier, we set that to modifier dot weight. We set that to 1f to take the remaining space. So we can copy this twice, copy this, and this is going to be 2026, which is the year we are in. So the next one is let's copy this copy this, paste it down here. Oh, we missed out this guy. Copy this guy as well, paste it up here. So this is going to be our CVV. So we need to also create a CVV box, because in this CVV we have, this is an outline text field that you can enter the fields. You can edit the field directly. You're not selecting anything here. So, and we need 3 of it. So let's create a private composable that we can reuse. Okay, so down here we create another composable that we will call CVV box, and here this is going to have only one value. So let's make this a single line. So here value, which is a string, and in the body is going to be an outlined text field again. So we have our line text field here. Let's copy that, paste that here. We don't need a trailing icon for this. So this is going to be, let's say this is 54, okay, and this is going to be the main modifier. Okay, so now our value is going to be value on value change, single line through bright yellow. So everything is fine. Okay, so now we'll go back up here again. See here? Yeah, here. So here we use a row again to set those guys up. So here we just need our horizontal arrangement, and we set our arrangement to be spaced by 12.dp to make it uniform. Okay, so in here we call our CVV box here. So our value is going to be, let's set that to 6. Copy this, paste it. So this is going to be 612. Okay, so that's it for now. Then let's add another horizontal space, our vertical spacer here. Copy. So if we go back to our prototype, we've done this. So it's only this switch that is remaining. So now we have a text and this switch. So we're going to use a row to layer that out as well. So but beneath here, we are not reusing that. So we can actually call it once here. So row, and our row, let's style our row a little bit. So our row here is going to have the famous modifier dot fill max width like this. Then our vertical alignment, let's set it to alignment or center vertically. Then our horizontal arrangement is going to be arrangement of space between, just like that. So inside here we're going to use a text, and that text is going to read save card details. Okay, so then we have our font size to be font size dot regular. Then our text is going to be, our color is going to be our text primary, like that. So then after that we can now call a switch. Then I switched, our checked is going to be safeguard function that we created above. Then unchecked change is going to be on toggle save. And the colors, let's set some colors here. So it's going to be our switch default dot colors. So here our checked track colors is going to be our surface brand. Then unchecked track color is going to be our surface dark. Then checked thumb color is going to be our surface. Then unchecked thumb color is going to be surface as well. Then also checked border color is going to be surface brown, so that it matches everything, surface brown. Then unchecked border color is going to be our surface dark. Okay, so we'll see that in action once we call this. So now we have been able to finish this and this. So we need our address card, and then this confirm and pay button down here. So let's create our address card as well, as we have done the other ones. So down here again, so here we call our composable, let's call this delivery details card. And here we have address, which is going to be a string, and we have our postcode, which is going to be a string as well. Then we have an edit address, because they can edit in case they have moved the address without updating their profile, because we are going to pull this from their profile, which they have created initially when they registered on the app. But in case they have not updated that, because on first register you are supposed to update, you will put some of the information you can find on Google, but if the information is not updated, like these addresses, then they can now update it right here for their delivery. Okay, all right, so now we have created all the parameters. Let's call our card, and let's style our card a little bit. So using our famous modifier, we set our modifier dot fill max width. Okay, so our modifier dot fill max width, then we set the shape to our rounded corner shape. We set that to 12.dp so that it will be uniform across. Then we can set the colors, and we call our card default dot card colors, and we can set that to our surface for now. All right, so now we have, let's use a column to set those items, and that column we're going to style it as well. So using our famous modifier dot border, so here we set our border width to 1.dp, then the color to be brown, and the shape to be rounded corner shape, which you will set to 12.dp to match the parent. Then we can actually make this a new line so that it doesn't steer too far. Okay, so now after the border we can add padding to have a general padding of 12.dp. Okay, so now in the body we're going to use a text. We've used text recently, so let's go and steal one text, and we can copy this, paste this here. Okay, so the text now is going to read delivery details. Okay, so the font size is regular, the text is text primary, then the font weight is font weight dot bold. Then we have the modifier. Let's use the modifier to set the alpha. Set modifier dot alpha. We set that to 0.8 to make it a little bit faint. So then after that we're going to add a horizontal spacer, a vertical spacer I meant to say. So let's set this to 8.dp for now. So now let's create another row again, the delivery row. Let's create another private composable for our delivery row, composable, because we're going to reuse that. So private function delivery row. So in our delivery row, we're going to have a value of type string. Then we also have on edit to enable them to edit, and it's going to be an empty lambda for now. Okay, so in the body, we're going to have a row, because each of these elements here, see, there is the address which we put from their profile, then the edit button address, postcode, edit button. Okay, so now we're going to have a modifier. Set that to modifier dot fill max width. This is not, so we set this to clip, and we set this to our rounded corner shape, and set this to 50.dp. okay, want it all rounded. So dot background, we set this to our surface light. So then dot padding, let's set the general padding of 12.dp. Then our vertical alignment is alignment the center vertically. Then horizontal arrangement the space between. So with that, we can now use a test. I think we used a test here recently. So I'll copy all this, copy this, paste that here. Then the test is going to say our dummy address, which is the value. So, and it's regular test primary. We don't want it bold, we want it to be just the regular test, and this is going to be width, and let's make it 12. okay, so now we have then our outline test field, which I think we've used one recently, this one. Let's copy that. So after that, we paste our outline test field, and this is going to be, sorry, this is going to be outline button. So this is going to be on click, and this is going to be on edit, and we don't need this guy. Rounded corner shape, this is going to be 50, and our modifier 100. Width, let's make the width 100, and single line not necessary. Colors is going to be button default dot button colors, like this. So here we don't need any of this. This is going to be just our surface, like that, and this can go on the line. Okay, so now, okay, all right, so why is this guy complaining? Button default dot outlined. Okay, this is outlined button colors. Okay, so now here we can now add another test. Copy this, paste this here, and this button is going to say edit font regular. Let's add some font to it to make it bold. Font width dot bold, like this. So now this is the delivery row, so we can just call it up here, and here we call our delivery row like this. So here our value is going to be the address, then on edit is going to be on edit address. Okay, so we can now duplicate this, copy this, paste it here, and this is going to be postcode on edit postcode, like that. So I think beyond all reasonable doubts, okay, let's optimize this, and the last thing is our button. Okay, so the last thing we need to do here is to call our, we have not called any of these methods or these functions that we've created. So but we've created the delivery card, yes, and after the delivery card we can now, let's add a stop, let's add a placeholder, so to say, for the PayPal option before we move forward. So here we call our composable, and here we call our private function PayPal placeholder for now. So PayPal placeholder is going to have, we use a column here, and that column using our famous modifier dot fill max size, like this, or not fill max size. Let's make this let's make this a height of say 300.dp, so that because the address is supposed to show for now, then here we use our info card, and our image is going to be our resources.icon.dog, or gentle dog. Then the title we say then the subtitle we say PayPal checkout coming next, like this. Okay, so that it will show them something at least, so that it won't just be a blank screen when that is selected. So now we go back to our parent column, which is here. So after the column, we can now call our payment method toggle, like this. So our payment method toggle, our selected is going to be the method above. Have we created the variable for this method? No. So let's create a variable up here, a mutable variable here that we'll call method to assign each of those methods. So remember, so we call this mutable state of. Then we pass our payment method dot card. Okay, so then to save our card, we create another var that we'll call save card by remember. So here is going to be mutable state of. Let's set that to true. So let's import the set value and get value. Okay, so with that, now we can call our method here. Then on select, we can now pass our method and set that to IT. So the next thing is we have called our payment toggle. So the next thing is to call our payment card here. So to do that, we're going to use a card where we call it our payment card, card payment form inside the card. So here under this, we call a card, and we set, let's style this card. We set our famous modifier dot fill max width. So here let's drop some shadow here, and let's set the shape to our rounded corner shape, and we set that to 12.dp. Then the shadow, let's call shadow here. Let's set the radius of the shadow to 4.dp and spread to 1.dp. Then we set the color to border idle, and let's set the offset to dp offset. We set it to x to 4.dp and y to 4.dp as well. See how that looks, then we tweak later. Okay, we'll leave that for now and tweak that later. Okay, so shape, we set our rounded corner shape to 12.dp for the entire card. Then our colors, we call our card default dot card colors, and we set that to our surface dark, like that. So here, to call those elements, we use a column. So we say column. Here we add a modifier so that we can add some internal padding. Modifier dot padding, we set that to 12.dp, like this. Then here we will now say if method is equal to payment method dot card, then we should call our card payment form. Then here our save card is going to be the save card, and on toggle save is going to be save card assigned to IT, like that. So else we should call our PayPal placeholder that I created just before, PayPal placeholder, like this. So now we have the second card, which is this. So let's call this now. So down here we're going to outside. Okay, outside here. So we're going to call our delivery details card here, delivery details card, and in our delivery details card we have our address, and we set that to number 3 Home Boulevard, Kingston, Jamaica. Okay, so now postcode is somewhere in Newcastle, so NE52 6NT. I don't know if this address exists, but you can check it out on AD edit postcode, on edit address first, we put an empty lambda there for now. On edit postcode, an empty lambda. So this is not necessary. So now we have called everything. The next thing is now this button here, which we're going to create down here. So we call a button, and on click we pass an empty lambda because that is not functional yet. Then modifier, using our famous modifier, we have dot fill max width and dot height. We set that to like 54.dp. Then we can set the shape to rounded corner shape 12.dp. okay, then colors, our button defaults, the button colors, we set that to brand yellow. We can actually use our primary button for this, but since I've almost finished that, so let me just finish it up. But we can use our primary button actually for this. Set our text to, let's make this all caps, confirm and pay. Okay, so now we can set the font family to our Oswald font, variable font, then font size dot regular, then the font weight is going to be font weight dot bold, then the color is going to be our text primary. Okay, so with that we have, and we can say that we have fully implemented our card screen. So it's time to check it out. Who is this guy? Address. Okay, it's hard coded. I know about that. Thank you for reminding me. It's okay, we'll do that late. We'll implement the full thing later. So now what we need to do now is to create this screen, this checkout screen. I think the payment toggle, this card, the payment toggle, there's something I've done. This toggle peel, this icon, leading icon. Okay, so leading icon here, this shouldn't be the MasterCard icon. I think I have another card. Let me call this MasterCard. Let me rename this so that it will be renamed across. Okay, so let me add another item here. I think I have another card. Yeah, credit card icon. That's the one I'm supposed to use. So let's add that to here. Okay, so now I can now duplicate this, copy this, paste this here, and call this card, and call this, what did I call it? Card. Yeah, credit card. Okay. So when we go back here, this is going to be the card, not the MasterCard. I think it's better now. Okay. What we will do now is to create this screen. That's the next thing we need to do. So let's go to our screens. So in our screens, this is not being used again. So let's make this checkout like this, and it's going to take that amount. So now that we made this checkout, so what we'll need to do now is to, how do we navigate to this checkout? First of all, let's go to our cart screen and add that checkout parameter. So where is let's go to our cart screen. Where is our cart screen again? Cart screen is part of the home. Yeah, so we navigate to checkout with our button, this button here, I guess. Yeah, this is the navigate to checkout. So on click is already added. So on checkout, okay, so we have already passed that cart summary, navigate to checkout, and pass our total. Okay, so now let's go to our home. Home is here. So here in the home, we go to, yeah, so here is our navigate to checkout, navigate to cart. What have I done here? So what we have here is actually navigate to checkout. Navigate to checkout. So here we pass amount, and we call our nav controller dot navigate. Then we pass amount here. No, we call our navigate to checkout. Navigate to checkout. That means we don't have navigate to checkout here. So this is going to be navigate to checkout like this. So down here we call navigate to checkout and pass amount like this. Okay, that should work now. I believe so. So let's give our app a quick spin. No, it won't work. We have not created that screen. That's why it won't work. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know. So in our home graph, we have this has changed to navigate to checkout like this, and now we're going to pass our amount from the cart screen, and we call nav controller dot navigate, then we call checkout, and we pass amount equal to amount. So now we need to create the checkout screen. We need to create the checkout screen down here, checkout composable. So we pass our checkout, and here let's create a navbar stack so that from the checkout we can safely navigate back. Navbar stack entry. Let's just call that and see the behavior. Then we can now create that. So checkout screen, navigate. So navigate back. I didn't close this. So navigate back. Now we say nav controller dot navigate up like this. So our total amount is going to be, so let's create that navbar stack entry. Navbar stack entry. Yeah, let's create a var that we'll call checkout argument. Checkout args is equal to nav stack back entry dot to route, and we pass our checkout. So what I'm going to do here is, let's refactor this. Let's rename this to be actual checkout screen to avoid ambiguity, because in our screens we call this checkout. So let's go back to our nav graph. So okay, so now we're going to call our checkout args dot amount like that. Okay, so why is this guy still complaining? So here this is going to be checkout like that. Okay, so now you see that conflict have been sorted. So now I think we'll be able to find our screen. Now let's go and check out what's going on there. What happened there just now? Okay, so our card is showing. Everything looks great. Yeah, we can collect the amount, but let's go back. Is that how much we have in our cart? Okay, yeah, the amount coming up as issued. So let's check out. You see our PayPal says, oops, PayPal checkout coming next. Okay, so that makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense, guys. So here we can navigate and see all this. All right. Okay, so can confirm and pay. So now we have a checkout screen which works as it should, but that navigation did not actually do what I expect. We expected to navigate back to our checkout, but it's going back to our product overview screen, which is funny. Okay, so we're able to implement that successfully. Then later we'll take care of that back navigation. So the next thing we can now implement is to implement, I think I need to launch this again because of that arrow that I showed there before, so that we'll know, this is not good. So then let's wire this to go to checkout with just this item and the price of this item. Okay, then we can now proceed further to other things. So let me check something quickly before we proceed. Let me go to my manifest, because that launch icon is now acting up. So this launcher now, I see launcher, where are you in the beep map? So let's go to our and increase our target API now here. So minimum SDK here, let's make this 33 and sync. I hope it doesn't break anything, but okay. Let's check our manifest again. That error is gone for this. Oh, we have the label up here, so this is now redundant. Okay, so now for this icon, this start icon, there is a problem. So initially I think I deleted the wrong thing. Let's change this image assets. The launcher icon is, let's use image and set that to our burger icon. Yeah, I've changed that to the Android. Oh, we're running out of memory. All right, thank you for informing me. Let me launch this once more so that we'll make sure that that icon is no longer showing the drop down icon. Okay, we've corrected that icon, but because of this memory warning, our app is taking longer now to load. So I will shut this down, close this, All right, so the next thing we need to implement here now is to buy now, this buy now function, so that once the user select just this item, maybe this is just what they want, they can now go, this can take them one item checkout, it can take them to the checkout screen to check out immediately. Okay, so let's implement that now. So let's go to our product details screen and see if we have we've wired that. So in, I think, bottom details section, info section, product details card, yes. So okay, so let's check for bottom actions. So add to cart, buy now. Okay, so buy now, where did we call this? We call this here. Yeah, so bottom details action, buy now is buy now. So we need to go to our, okay, so let's commit this first, then we can now proceed. So okay, check out wiring. All right, so let's go to our ViewModel, details ViewModel, and implement that function, this buy now function. Okay, so that's where we'll start from. So the buy now function, let's create a variable here that we'll call product, and we'll assign that to our product dot value dot show suggested by dialog, the value dot get success data or null, like this. So we say if product, we check if product is null, then if is null, then we should call our private. So let's add another sealed interface now. Let's add it up here. After the UI state, we call seal interface that we'll call our product details event. So here we have a data class that we're going to call navigate to checkout, and here is going to take a var called amount, and it's going to be a double. You can make that nullable, and it will return our product details event like this. Then we have another data class that we'll call show message, and it's going to take a var called message, which will return a string, and will return our product details event like this. Okay, so down here we're going to call our UI. We need to collect that state first of all. So all we need to do, we go up here. So up here we can see private var event is equal to mutable state flow or mutable shared flow. We pass our product details event, then we set an extra buffer capacity to 1. Then here we call our var and create an event or events equal to events dot as shared flow. So we added this extra buffer capacity and we set it to 1 because the shared flow always returns 1 in the replay. So that means if something is emitted, we won't get anything if we don't set this to 1. And this is because, well, this is a one-time event. So the user is sent, because we have a cart already, but that cart actually holds the items that have been collected on the cart. But in this event, this user is just wanting to buy this one off and head off. So we just send them to the checkout instead of capturing that in our cart. So that's why we set this, so that it can emit this one-time event. Okay, so we go down here. Then we call our events, the private event dot try emit, and this is our product details event dot show message. So that means we now say product, because now at this point the product is not available yet. Okay, so but in the absence of that, we are going to, because they can actually increase the quantity here, let's create a variable that we call to collect the quantity, the actual quantity of that product. We set that to quantity.value.get success data .coerce at least. So for that coerce at least, so at least one item, the quantity must be at least one for them to be able to go to the checkout, so that they don't just send empty this thing to the checkout. So now total is going to be, in case they have increased the quantity above one, dot price. So this is product dot price dot times, so how many times, then we pass our quantity like this. Okay, so now we can now say, oh sorry, my bad, this is outside this if statement. That's why it's saying that the product is always null, and that's why it's complaining. So this implementation is outside this if statement. Yes, so now we can now check and say if total is not equal to null, then we should now say if total in the nested loop, and say if total is less than or equal to 0.0, which is not possible because we've already set this to be 1. It can't go beyond 1. Okay, but let's keep that check in case. So we call our event dot try emit, and we call our product details event dot show message, and we give them the message that says invalid total amount. Okay, then they should return so that they can try again. Okay, so but in the absence of that, that means everything is fine. We have our product and the right quantity, so we try emit and we send the product UI event dot navigate to checkout. Then we pass our amount, and our amount is going to be total amount, like this. Okay, so that's that function done. So now that we've implemented that, let's go to our product details screen. I believe that has been wired already, so buy now, so that's fine. And so we check navigate to, so here we can now add another lambda here, and that will be navigate to checkout, which is going to take a double because we're passing the amount. Okay, so here let's create a variable here that we'll call context for our toast, and that will be local platform context dot current, like this. Then let's use launched effect to get the state. So here we say UI states dot action message, and here in the body we say UI states dot action message dot let, and here we can name this MSG, which is message, and here we say we call our toast dot make test. Here we pass our context, pass our message, then call toast dot length short, then call dot show. Okay, now let's implement the launch effect for our navigation as well. So here we pass the unit as the key, then we can call this event, and down here we call our ViewModel dot events dot collect. No, cut this, put this down here. Okay, so now we say when event is product USA dot navigate to checkout, then we should call event dot amount, pass the amount dot let, then we should navigate to checkout, and we'll pass IT like this. Okay, so what have I done? So is navigate to show message, then we can also pass our toast again. So here we pass our context, and message is going to be our event dot message, like this. Okay, so with that we can now navigate to checkout. So let's check our nav graph again. Yes, so in our nav graph, the details screen is now requesting for that extra navigate to checkout. So now we add our navigate to checkout like this, and here we pass our amount, and down here nav controller dot navigate, then we pass our checkout, then we pass amount and assign that to amount like that. So I think with that we'll be able to navigate, go to the navigation screen if I've not missed out and not any other bit. Okay, moment of truth. All right, so that's working. We passed our amount successfully, as you can see, 2.99, and it took us to the checkout screen, which our navigate back is still working. You see that? Isn't that amazing, guys? So yeah, our navigate back is working on that one as it should. So now that we are almost finishing with our details screen. This is working, this is working, this is working, and it's now this big guy down here. So if you want to go grab a drink, you can go grab some drink and come back. Let's continue so that we can implement this. And you remember the drill. So this is going to browse for more, is going to take us to the category screen, which according to our prototype, is supposed to be this. So this is our food menu screen. So once we click on one of these cards, it's going to open a list of items or products that belong to that category. So that's what we're going to implement now. Okay, so we make this work, take us here, this will also take us here. All right, so when we come back we continue. Okay, so let's close all these tabs. So first of all, let's create the data class for our product, your food menu screen, or the category screen, whatever you want to call it. Here we have in our models, let's add another data class. We're going to call category product UI or product category UI. So this data class is going to have two variables, which is the product of our product class. Then we have var is favorite, which is going to be a boolean, not favorite, like this. So now that we've created that, we can now go back to, let's close all this down. So here in our home, let's create the category package. We'll call it category like this. So in the category, let's create a screen. So we'll call it our food menu screen. That's what our prototype said. So I can copy that. So here we use our composable, and this is going to be fun. Let's paste that, and this is going to take on some parameters and have its own body. So here we're going to have a single lambda, which is on category click like this. So and it's going to take our product category that we created earlier, and that will be a unit. So now we can use a column to set these tiles here. These tiles, we're going to create a composable for each of them, then call them in the parent column that we're just creating now. Okay, so here we will call this, we will style this a bit. So we use our famous modifier and set that to fill the max size, then set our padding to, we want a horizontal padding of 12.dp. Then let's set horizontal alignment and set it to our alignment.center horizontally like that. So here let's add a vertical spacer up here, because you know this is our category screen, which is part of the home screen. So it has its own top up bar already. So what we need to do here, use our modifier dot height, and we set that to 8.dp like this. So after that, let's add a test, and that test is going to read discover our menu. And here we call our font family, we set that to Oswald variable font, and also our font size, we set that to font size dot medium. Okay, so then we set our color to our text primary dot copy. Let's grade that out a little bit, just like we have in our prototype. Okay, so we call our alpha dot 60%. Did we create that? We have 10%, so we can add another one, const var 60 like that, and set that to 0.6f. Okay, so we can set that to 60% here. So the next thing we need to do is to add another spacer for the grid. Copy that and paste that here. Let's set this to 12, or let's make this to 12 as well. All right, so now we need to use a lazy grid, a lazy vertical grid to show these styles, but let's create a component that's this card component, then call it in here. Okay, so here we create at composable, private composable form. We have call this food menu category card, like that. That's a long name, but I think it's more descriptive than just food menu card. So here we'll have a category from our product category like this. Then we have on click, which is going to be an empty lambda like this. So in the body here, let's use a box, because if you see here we have, let me zoom this in a little bit more. Here we have a circular surface here, have a text, but there is an outer card here where this is offset on the vertical axis like this on this card. So let's see, we can use box to achieve that. So let's do that. Let's import box. So our box here, let's style it a little bit. So modifier, let's set the width to like 140.dp and the height, let's set that to 140. So we're having a square box.dp like that. So now dot padding, let's set the top padding to 12.dp. Then we'll make every part, make it all clickable, the entire box. So here we call on click and we assign that to our on click above. Then let's set content alignment, say alignment dot top center. Okay, like that. So now we are going to use a surface, and in that surface we're going to add our text. So let's say surface, and we need to style our surface as well. So with our famous modifier dot fill max width, then we have the height, let's set that to 110.dp, and let's set it to align. So alignment will be bottom center for the text. Then dot offset, so let's set the offset on the y-axis to be 30.dp for now. We'll check all that out later. Then the shape should be rounded corner shape, and we set that to 12.dp. Then the color should be our surface light. Then let's add a tonal elevation of 6.dp and a shadow elevation of 6.dp. Okay, so now we add another column because we want this text to align to the bottom of this. As you can see, there is this displacement here, so this text is in the bottom down here. Okay, so let's add a column, and in that column let's style our column again. So we use modifier, set our modifier dot fill max size dot padding, let's set that to 12.dp as usual. And horizontal alignment, let's set our alignment to center horizontally. Then vertical arrangement, let's set that to bottom like this. So down here we're going to call our text, and our text is going to be our category dot title. Then the font family is going to be our Oxford variant font. Then font size dot medium. Then color, let's set that color to our text primary. Then we have the max line for each title to be 1. Then overflow, let's set that to ellipsis. Then test our line. I don't think there is any title that will overflow, but in case it's a small screen, dot center. Okay, so that's the first surface. So now we're going to create the icon surface, which is this icon. I use picture here, but we're going to use icon, is better. So we use our original category icon. So here, let me copy this surface from here and paste that here. So what I need to change here is I need to add the width and make it 100.dp. So the height, let's make it 100 as well. Then we don't need to align this, we don't need to offset this either. Okay, so here we use clip, so this is going to be clip. So let's import that. So here we're going to make it 50 because we want it to be circle. Then these other things will not need them. So here we have border, and that border is going to be 1.dp, then border idle, and also a rounded corner shape, which is 50.dp again. So okay, this also has the border stroke, so let's make that, let's add the border stroke to that one as well. Copy this and paste it here. This will be 12, that's if necessary, but yeah. So but what's the main color here? Color is surface light. Okay, that's fine. So now what we do next is we are going to, we need an icon here. Oh, I think I've deleted what I'm not supposed to delete. So now we use an icon here and painter resource. We set that to category.icon. Then down here we call our content description and call category.title. Then here we set the tint to color.unspecified, and we use our famous modifier .size. Let's set the size to 14.dp. Then align and set our alignment to center like this. So this is our food category menu done. So let's call that inside the main food menu screen. So after our spacer, we can call a lazy vertical grid, and here we pass our columns. We set that to grid cells dot fixed. So we set it to 3 for now, hoping that everybody is using a large screen Android. Then vertical arrangement, we set that arrangement to arrangement dot spacebar. Let's set that 24.dp. Then horizontal arrangement, set it to arrangement dot space by 12 as well, so it has 12 spacing everywhere. So now we have our modifier. We set our modifier to fill max size of the screen. So then in the body down here we use we call items. We call our product category.entries, and here we have our category. We call our food menu category card like this. Then here we call our category and assign that to category. Then on click we say on category click, and we pass category like this. Okay, so I imported the wrong imported item. Okay, so that's fine now. So we have our food menu screen here, and it's all done now. So what we need to do now to move further is to create a view model. So if we create our view model now, we'll be able to call those categories now. So what we need to do is go here, create our category product view model, or product category view model. That's a better name. So product, or since the name is food menu screen, so let's food menu view model. That's better. Okay, so now this food menu is going to have a private var product repository, because that's what we're calling our product category. So product repository, and now we have another one, customer repository, because that's how we save those. So we can also use a save state handle here. So now before we proceed, let's go and add that to our DI before we forget and get some surprises. Copy this, paste that here. This is food menu view model, and get again like that, and another get for the save state handle. So this we inherit from the ViewModel class. I guess that's why. Oh yeah, that's why we're having that error. So it's all gone now. So let's continue. So here let's check for valid category. So create a variable here, private var called category, and it's going to return a string. Let's assign that to check not null, and we call our save state handle dot get string, and we pass our category like this. Okay, so first let's now create a private var for our product. Private var, let's call this product, and this is going to be a state flow of type request state, and here we are going to pass a list of product, and let's assign that to our product repository dot read product by category. Then we pass our category here like this, then dot stating, so scope, call our ViewModel scope, then our started is going to be sharing started dot while subscribe. Let's pass 5 seconds to wait for it to return list of products in that category, then request state dot loading like this. Okay, so now in our category we want to also show, because we're going to be reading our product card for this product list that is going to come up in that category. So we should be able to also read the ones that are favorite and the ones that are not favorite. Okay, so let's create that private var favorite id, which will also return a state flow of type request state, which will pass a string here. We set the string. Okay, let's sign that to customer repository dot read favorite flows, favorite id flow like that. So down here we pass our state in again, copy that, paste that here, and here is going to be loading as well. So now let's collect all the states that we can now read in our UI. So here we say var UI state will return a state flow of type request state, and we pass a list of category product or product category UI. I think that's product category UI like this. So then we assign this and combine them both. So here we call combine, and here we pass our product and also our favorite IDs. Then here we can have product state and fav state or favorite state. Okay, so here we use a when statement, when not while. Okay, and pass our product state is product request state dot loading. Then we pass our request state dot loading. Then is product request state dot error. We pass our request state dot error. Then we pass our product state dot message, whatever message that is returned. So this product request state dot success. Let's now pass a generic type here. Then let's create a variable that is collect our favorite IDs, and we set that to favorite states as request state dot success or nullable dot data dot or empty like this. So now var, let's get our UI list of element, UI list like this. We pass that to our product state dot data, so dot distinct by it dot id. Okay, so dot sorted by descending. Then we pass it dot created at, then dot map. So here let's call this product and call our category product or product category UI like this. So here we pass our product, and then favorite IDs dot contains, then we pass our product dot id like that. So at the end of it all, we call our request state dot success, then we pass our UI list down like this as the data. So then outside of that, we say request state dot idle, we assign that to request state dot idle. Okay, then outside of that, let's paste our state in. So this is going to be idle once the data is returned. So I missed out something here. This is not supposed to be here. Cut that out. So we're missing. So paste our state in here. Yeah, this is where we're supposed to have our state in. So here, close this off. Yes. So now we have created our UI state now that we can read in our UI to get the state changes. So now let's add that function to toggle favorite so that they can also toggle favorite from the list of items returned. Favorite, toggle favorite. This will have product ID of type string. Then here we call our ViewModel scope dot launch, and we pass our customer repository dot toggle favorite, which is the function we've created before, product ID, like this. Okay, so now we have our UI and you have our toggle favorite button. So what we can do now is let's go to our home screen. In our home screen now we have our categories here. So what we will do is we will call our food menu screen here, and we pass on category click. Does our food menu screen take any parameter? Yes. So on category click we call here, let's call this category, and down here we navigate to category, which we have now created up here. So here navigate to product category. This is going to be a long one. So here is going to return a string, and here we pass a unit like this. So now down here we say navigate to product category, then we pass our category to title like this. Okay, so that's that composable right there. Okay, so the next thing is to go to our screens. In our screen we create the category data class. So let's copy this, paste it here, and call this product category screen. So this is going to take a variable called category, and this is going to be a string. Okay, so now we go to our nav graph, and in our nav graph we're going to add that composable here. So composable here we pass our category product screen or product category screen like this. Then here we pass entry. Then here we can call our category or product category screen, this one. Oh, sorry, my bad. This is going to be, we don't need this composable. We've created this composable. So this composable is going to call the list of categories which we have not implemented yet. So here now in our navigate to menu, we need to implement our navigate to menu in our home graph. So now we say nav controller dot set home tab here. Then we pass our home tab dot categories like this. So the next thing, specify remaining items. So let's add just a lambda here. Navigate to product category, that's the one we will create next. So now let's give our app a spin and see if we'll be able to access that. Okay, so first of all, our card is showing and it looks quite nice. It looks like this one, just that here we use pictures, but there we used the icons that we've already been using, and the cards are very distinguished. Okay, so we made some reasonable progress, but on click nothing happens here. So we're going to implement that so that once we click this will give us the list of items in this category. So I think this looks nice, and this shadow down here makes it stand out. So that's pretty well done. Okay, so let's implement the other bits now. So now that we have created this successfully, let's wire the buttons from our product view model and make product screen, details screen, which is here. So in our product details screen, we have our button, which is this button, the big button here. So this primary button on click doesn't go anywhere because we have not wired that up. So what we need to do is we add another lambda here, which is navigate to menu, and our navigate to menu is going to be an empty lambda or empty unit like this. Okay, so in that button we now call our navigate to menu like this. So now if we go to our nav graph, it will demand for that. So here we're going to call navigate to menu, and our navigate to menu is going to be nav controller dot set home tab, and we pass our home tab dot categories like this. Then nav controller dot pop basta. So now we have wired that through. So the next place we need to wire this is in our checkout screen, which is in the payment. So here we go down to our button. No, not our checkout screen, actually we're talking about our cart screen here. So our cart screen is going to, okay, it's already wired. So navigate to menu. This is already connected. So the next place is on click button, navigate to menu. So let's go to our home screen again. So in our home screen, this is going to go to our navigate to menu. Okay, let's give this a quick spin and see if they are working yet. So let's go there. Okay, so now we can navigate, and if we click the back button, it brings us back to here. Then here, this is not going anywhere yet. So we need to refactor this. Let's say nav controller dot navigate, as we call our screens dot categories. Then let's set our launch single top to true, and our restore state, we set that to true as well. Then on pop up to, we want it to pop up to our save state, and we set that to true. Then pass the type our screens. Since we are navigating from the cart screen, let's send them back to the cart screen as well. Okay, so let's give this a quick spin and see if that is working now as it should. Okay, so it's working, and when we click back, we go back to our cart. So in case they navigated to the menu to check out stuff, we want them to go back to their cart so that they can continue where they left off and check out and give us the money. Okay, so that's all working now. And now that we have been able to achieve that, let's make this category, let's make our cards here clickable so that we can actually view the product that belongs to this category. And we have already created those functions in our food menu view model right here. So it's just to call the state and create that screen. Okay, so we can make that screen part of our categories package here. So we create another file, composable file, that we are going to call our category product screen, because these are the product that belongs to each category. So let's copy that. Okay, so let's call at composable function, paste that. Okay, so now this is going to have a parameter category of type string, and also on navigate back, which is going to be an empty unit, and also on product click so that they can also view the product details, and this will be a string and return a unit. So now we say we use a scaffold. So where did we use scaffold recently? Let's go and pick it up from there. I think on checkout, yes, all correct. So let's copy the scaffold here until this point. Copy, where am I, where are you, where are we? Paste that here, close that up. Okay, so now navigate back. Okay, on navigate back like that. So what else? Then our actions, we don't have any actions for this, so we cut that out. Then opting for the experimental material 3 API. So now that we have done that successfully, this is going to say not checkout. This is going to say each category like this. Okay, so everything looks fine now. So now what we'll do is we'll call our state. We have not collected that state yet, so, and we have not injected our ViewModel, so don't do that. That's illegal. So here we say ViewModel, and we assign that to our coin ViewModel. Our coin ViewModel of type category or product, no, food menu ViewModel. That's the right one. Yeah, food menu ViewModel. Okay, then like this. So we need to import. I spelled that wrongly. Import coin ViewModel. Okay, so now we create a variable to collect our state now that we've injected the ViewModel. So we call ViewModel dot, call it ViewMode, sorry, ViewModel dot UI state dot collect our state. Okay, let's import the get value. Right, so this is all okay now. So down here we can now call our state dot display result like this. So our display result is going to take a modifier dot fill max size, then dot padding, so that we set that padding value up there. Then we can add a general padding as well of 12.dp. Then on loading, we use our loading card as usual. So loading card, we use our famous modifier to set it to fill the maximum fill max size like this. Then on error, so this is going to be our message, and here we pass our info card also. So our image is going to be our resources dot icon dot dog. Then our title is going to say oops. Then subtitle is going to we'll pass our message like this. Okay, so then after that we add on success, and on success we are expecting a list of items that belongs to the category. So let's use a column to set that. So this column is going to have some few parameters using our modifier to style the column dot fill max size. Right, so then our vertical arrangement is going to be our arrangement dot top. Okay, so arrangement dot top. So we now say if our list is empty, instead of giving them dot is empty, instead of giving them just an empty blank screen, let's use our info card again. Copy that, paste that here. So the message now is the subtitle is going to be no product found in this category. Right, so like that. We can also add oops, nothing here, like that. Okay, so else, then we display our list of items, and we use a lazy column to do that. And in our lazy column, we want to add a vertical arrangement and set that arrangement dot spaced by. We want the card to be spaced by 12.dp as usual. So in the body here we call items, and here we pass our list. Then the key is going to be it.product.id. So here we're going to have item for each individual item. So here we call our product card. So our product card is going to take the product is our item dot product. Have I imported the wrong item here? Let me optimize this. Where is the item? Okay, I imported the wrong item. I thought as much. So now show favorite icon, item dot is favorite. then its favorite is going to be item.isFavorite. Then on toggle favorite is going to be our ViewModel.toggle favorite, like this. Then on click is going to be on product click. So let's go to our product card. This show favorite icon, this is supposed to be show favorite action. So let's rename that. Yeah, so here is going to be show favorite actions, and we set that to true, like that. Okay, so on product click, so now in our categories screen, we have added that successfully. So let's start with going to our home screen. So in our home screen now, on click on the food menu screen, on category click. Okay, so now let's create the composable, because in the screens is our screens. So in this screen, product category screen has been created before. So let's go to our nav graph. So in our nav graph now, we can now create this composable here. So this composable, let's add another var here that we'll call args, and it's going to be entry.toRoute, and here we're going to pass our category, our product category screen, like this. Then down here we can now call our category product screen, this one. So here we call our category and we set that to our args.category. Then on navigate back, we set that to navcontroller.navigate up, like that. So the next one is on product click. On product click, we pass the product ID, and here we call our navcontroller.navigate, and we call our details screen, then pass our ID equal to product ID, like that. Okay, so I believe that's our navigation done for now. So if we give our app a quick rerun, let's see how that goes. If we have broken anything, it's still not happening. So now we need to visit our category, our food menu screen. On category click. Okay, so this is wired correctly, so why is it not responding? Okay, so let's go to our home. Yeah, navigate to product. We have not implemented that. So now we call this let's call this category title, like this, because we want to display the title of each selected category. Okay, so down here we now call our navcontroller.navigate, and we'll call our category product screen, pass our category, and pass our category title, like that. So what did I call this? Product category screen. Oh man, messed up this name. Product, like that. Okay, so this is not necessary. So let's give it another quick spin and see what's going on. So this time around, I'm going to navigate from the cart screen. Okay, yeah, all right, so we're good. So French fries, okay, burgers. So if I navigate back, it sends me to the product screen, which is not exactly the implementation I desire. So what if I call navcontroller.navigate and we set that back to our cart, like that? Let's see what that does. Not cart exactly. This is supposed to be back to the category, so it's crashing now. So that's not okay. Let's see the error that we got with that. Route cart cannot be found in the navigation graph. This is okay. So let's set this to navigate and pass our category. Let's see if we will find it in the nav graph. If not, we will do pop-up to, we pop it off to the last screen. That will work, I guess. But let's see what we have here. Okay, so our app is now crashing. Okay, so let's use pop-up to. So I found out why this is not working initially, because let's cut this out and start afresh again. When I cut this out and we do pop bar stack, right? So if we relaunch our app now, so if we navigate here to the list and we go back to the original screen, which is our product overview screen. Because why this is happening is that you remember that once we navigate to our category and navigate, this category is part of the nested navigation in the home graph. So now when we click for the list, we are going back to the parent graph, which is our burger nav graph. So now when you pop the back stack, because in our burger nav graph, the start destination is always the home graph, and the screen on the home graph is the product overview screen. So when you pop the back stack, it's going to send us all the way back to the start of the home graph, which is the product overview screen, because we have navigated away from that nested home graph. So when you're popping it off, it's not going to locate that home graph again. So that is why what we need to do here is to, since we have set that navigation to access our home graph, we can now set the home tab and set it to categories so that it doesn't go back, because if you don't set it like this, it won't find, what it will find is the product overview screen. So then when you pop the back stack, you will be able to find back the categories again. So which is what I've done now, and it works better. So our navigation is becoming a bit complex now, but we are getting a handle on it. Okay, so now even if we navigate from here, browse for more, we click for apps, there is nothing here. If we navigate back now, see, we go back to our categories, so it won't send us to our overview screen again. Then when we navigate back once again, we go back to our product overview screen. So let's check the details and make sure that's working as well. So now if we click back, it takes us to product overview screen because of that same action as well, but that's not necessary to go back to the details overview screen, since the product details screen, since they can see the same product here. Okay, so we won't be disturbing ourselves about that yet. So now if we click on a product, let's see, there's a product here, it takes us to the product details screen. But because of both of them are in the same parent graph, if we navigate back, it's still going to pop off and send us back to this place. Then if we navigate back, it goes back to this, and that's the most ideal behavior that we expect. So now I can say that we've come to the end of episode 8, and that has been a job and a half, and we're able to do that. So now episode 8 is complete. The next thing, if time permits, is to implement our checkout to make it possible with Stripe and PayPal. But I will see if we can carry this further. But if you want me to continue this episode, you can just comment on the chat and let me know, because I think we've come very far, and I think you can take it on from here if you really want to take it further. But we have actually made this app possibly to an extent usable by a real business. So everything is working apart from the payment, and we can upload and update our product as much as we want. So let's check for one thing. Let's make sure this works. Yeah, it works. So we can even add favorite from here. So for the notification, I don't think we'll be stressing about that. Okay, so but this is working, and this is working as well. So we have come very far, guys, and I appreciate each one of you who have been following through on this build, and I hope you've learned a lot that you can use as your portfolio project, because that is what all this is all about, so that you can learn more and also showcase this as one of the things you have done. So congratulations, guys, on this, and especially Uber Sticks, I appreciate you for always following this through, and I hope we'll do something great later in the future in this manner. Okay, I will see you guys on the next one. So let me know what you think on the comment, if we should integrate Stripe or PayPal into this awesome build that we have almost concluded. Okay, and cheers, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week.